All right, are you hearing me, my brother?
Yeah, man, I'm hearing you now.
Okay, loud and clear. I'm actually also seeing you. I'm seeing you. I think it's because you're still in the green room, but we're hearing you now, loud and clear. All right, so I'd gone off, and as I said before, we have just a few minutes to go. So I'm going to give you more time to talk than me asking questions. But I know one of the things that the book is rooted in is that you have looked at at Rastafari as an indigenous Jamaican cultural movement, and you've argued for looking at Rastafari through those lenses. Tell me why.
No,
No,
Rastafari
Rastafari
it is
it is
inherited
inherited
Jamaica.
Jamaica.
You know,
You know,
it is
it is
our
our
response
response
to a
to a
situation that we
situation that we
find
find
ourselves in.
ourselves in.
You know,
You know,
Are we back up?
we don't
we
need
don't need
anybody
anybody
to,
to,
All right.
you know,
Let me just tell you that we're back up Raspadation. So he's good to go. All right. So you just need to click something off of me, Peter. All right. So Raspadation, are you seeing me now? Hearing me? We're good.
but I'm
well,
not
I'm not
seeing
seeing
you.
you.
But you're hearing me.
I'm
I'm
hearing
hearing
you.
Go
you.
ahead. We're seeing you. Go ahead. So continue. You're saying that looking at what Rastafari is.
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just looking
Just
at
looking
what
at what
Rastafari
Rastafari
is and
is and
what
what
Rastafari
Rastafari
represents to
represents to
Jamaica
Jamaica
Okay,
and the
and the
world.
world.
let me just get something from. Hang on.
It
Sorry,
is
I'm sorry. Let Pete.
Our
our
Hang on. Hang.
response
response
to
to
Raspadation, I'm
colonialism.
so
You
sorry.
know,
Rastafari was
Rastafari was
able
What
to
should
able
he
to
do?
create
Hang
create
up the
a
phone? All right.
self-sufficient
Hang
self-sufficient
up your phone, my brother.
community
that,
that,
it
you know,
is
is duplicatable. You know, it is a solution to Africans' problem. What was created at Pinnacle, that Africans coming together, building a society for themselves, self-governing of African principles. It was phenomenal, you know, and the government, they had to crush it, and it re-emerged again, that structure, you know, at 19 miles with Henry, that economic, that industrial foundation, which authorities again crushed. But that is a duplicatable model, you know, that Rastafari created, you
Yes.
know, and that can redeem Africa. And then in the 50s, now with the NaRRA being is coming in with the culture, the dreadlocks and all that, you know, that rubbed against Babylon, the turbulence way, you know, to get us out of that system. Just a pity that in that emergence of an air being, to get us out of that, we separated ourselves from the industrial foundation that was there, seeking for a spiritual, a higher spiritual level, you know, and that split there, we're heading for the spiritual level, leaving behind the industrial foundation, the commercial foundation, create a little pause in the movement, create we call now a discontinuity,
An
you know.
interregnum.
No, as Rastafari looking forward, and I need to bring those principles, original principles from our fathers. We need to acknowledge the root and join that with the spiritual, the heights and the liberty that the NaRRA come in. So that I want to establish. There are certain foundational things. Empress Menin, I want to
Yes.
bring Empress Menin more to the floor. In the tradition of Rastafari, coming from the Royal Patriot School of Black Supremacy, when Valentine Petersburg identified, it is a prophetic book where Petersburg identified the king and queen of Ethiopia as being God Almighty. But he borrowed from the Old Testament and called them King Alpha and Queen Omega.
And this is one of the things that you
No, that was the
underscore
Royal
in the
Patriot of
book.
Black Supremacy, which was a book that spoke prophetically of Rastafari coming. When His Majesty was crowned, because His Majesty was crowned after this book was written, Howell reinterpreted Royal Patriot of Black Supremacy, plagiarized most of it, and created the Promise Key. And he actually changed the name Petersburg used from King Alpha to King Rastafari. But he didn't change Empress Menen name from Queen Omega to Empress Menen.
Hang on a sec
So
for me.
Rastafari evolved a tradition.
I realize you're not hearing me too well, but I do have to take a break. I have to take a break.
But Omega means
Pay Uncle
end.
$1 down per 18 to 48 months credit over Lucky Dollar for furniture, appliance, and smart TVs. The time by Lucky Dollar is
now 6:48. Raspadation is not
as
hearing
an
me.
actual name, as a real person, you know. And let go that Queen Omega, because Omega is N and Empress meant Rasta deal with N. You know, that is one of the things we want to establish with the book. You know,
Yeah, I noticed.
As well
Are
as
you hearing
bringing
me?
forward the industrial roots. Always the houses like the house of Siva and manifest in full now. You know, and one of the things what I did in the book too is interpret Haile Selassie's speeches in the language of Rastafari. I have only seen Haile Selassie's speech in English. And Haile Selassie never, I don't think he did most of his speeches in English. They were doing it in American and translated into English. So I want to translate them into Rastafari language. When you hear the speeches that way, it have, you know, a different
Are you hearing me?
connection.
Are you hearing me, Raspadation?
We also want to identify the roots of the movement, even before Howell, because the movement is coming from, you know, the tradition that Prince Hall created in the United States with the Freemasonry, the Prince Hall Masonry that Dunkley and Hibbert were a part of. You know, it was a fundamental part of the Rastafari tradition, came from that. The Hibbert, Hines was a part of Bedward. The Bedward movement had a great part to play in the development of Rastafari. You know, I also want to acknowledge, you know, those people, you know, Athalie Rogers, you know, Valentine Petersburg, you know, the Garthley, the Pibby, you know, the work that played an important part in Rastafari in South Africa.
Yes.
When South Africa have one of the biggest Rastafari population, and we know that the PB and Athalie Rogers' work was a great part of that.
One of the things I liked about what you've done. Are you hearing me? He's not hearing me at all. Are you hearing me?
Part of the original Rastafari as well.
Okay, it's gonna be difficult.
You know, so we just want to bring the authentic knowledge to the floor. We want to widen the conversation, you know, and something from ourselves. And the Kabu Muta Baruka, you know, we figure prominently in it, because in my tradition, coming to Rastafari, they play an important role. Running African was church in my family at Sunday morning time, you know, cutting edge, negotiable, non-negotiable, you know. Those are things that I grew up on, you know, and the role you played in establishing the Rastafari movement, you know, is phenomenal and must not be overlooked. You know,
I know
a lot of my works, my writing came out of In Search of series.
Yes, and the poem too.
Not hearing you, Kabua, you're talking, not hearing you. I don't know. So probably forgot my phone.
Right. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
This is an interesting thing, because I've been trying to have the conversation, but you're not hearing me. I think it has something to do with the fact that you called on the phone. But because we only have 8 minutes left. But one of the things obviously, as I said, is an introduction to the book. I want you to come in and we have a longer discussion, because I think this is one of the. There are quite a few of them out there, and this is really up there with all of the others. I mean, in terms of the research, in terms of the fact that you've gone through and honored the founders, those the ideators, those who connected forward to Africa. But you also made a point in the book because you talk about it's an indigenous, Rastafari is indigenous to Jamaica, an indigenous cultural movement, that you also put Africa in its place, and you put Rastafari in Rastafari's place, and you make that argument. This is something that I want to have a conversation with you about. But also you've looked at Rastafari as resistance, you've talked about Babylon as resistance, you've also honored the founders. You mentioned 2 or 3 of them just now. And I think this is critical because this is how you laid the foundation for the book to say, who were the first ones out there? And in a few years ago, people were just saying Marcus Garvey. And then, as you pointed out, Leonard Howell, I mean, there's many who knew about Leonard Howell, but when we went in search of Leonard Howell, what a revelation. And you mentioned the In Search of series earlier. And that led us to the Holy Pibby. You talk about plagiarism. And I think that is quite interesting because we had that discussion before also. But you talk about the first person in terms of your research who identified the majesties. How important is that to Rastafari, that knowledge, that knowing of where we're coming from, where the movement started and how?
It's important. My research bring me to Hibbert as the first person who started the teaching in St. Andrew, Genoa, and then coming to town and seeing Howell, who the report said started teaching early 1932. All right. So it's very important because that's where it started. We know it took a big shift, a big jump in the 50s with Warner G's and King Emmanuel and so forth. You know, but it started with Hibbert, Howell, and Heinz, Dunkley, the Garbites. Because what you find that as the movement evolved, we started to decry a lot of the things that were in the foundation. For instance, the drum beat and the spiritual tradition that the Howellites have. You know, it's something that the Nyabingi burn. You know, Nyabingi don't really embrace and tolerate any other sort of drumming apart from the 1-2 order.
Yes.
You know, you find that industrial ventures that Howell would have had, that Henry would have had, would have included them growing them chicken and them goat and them things there. The Nyabingi is at a level where the Nyabingi don't deal with animal and at that level.
Yeah.
But the movement started there. Even though we evolved to a level of certain things, we can't deny the foundation. And if you're going to unite Africa, you have to use a principle that Haile Selassie articulated and use of tolerance, of uniting and what you have in common, and not maximizing our differences.
And I noticed that you've made that point. I noticed that you've made that point in the book, which is you stay away from arguing that Rastafari is homogenous. You talk about the diversity within Rastafari. That point is made so much in what you say as much as in what you have not said. And I think it's critical to go forward there. One of the things that you've looked at also is persecution and state power. It is holistic. The research is good. You've also interspersed poetry, your own poems, through the chapters. So just our listeners know that. It's also very easy to read. And it's good for high school, universities, and just for your own special reading. One of the things that we know, Raspadayashan, is that there doesn't seem to be a lot of reading among our people about Rastafari, or generally, but about Rastafari, as we had in the 90s. And well, I wouldn't even go to the early 70s and so on, but I'm saying that we saw a kind of a renaissance, if you will, a rebirth in the late 90s when everybody was singing about Jah, and the artists, the musicians, and so on were searching for Rastafari, and they were reading. But now we hear a lot of conversations, a lot of discussions of people who may be prominent on the world stage in whatever field that they're in, but what is lacking is a knowing and the knowledge of Rastafari. How important is this work to that space?
That's why I write it. For the knowledge base is missing. You know, even a lot of people who grew up as Rastafari, they know in the bones that Rastafari is right. They don't ever tell them that. You can't tell them anything otherwise. But to explain to someone, you know, how the movement arrived, the relevance, the significance of the movement, to understand where certain things come from is important. And just
I do agree with you on that.
to know, this is a history. If you're traveling in Africa, my son just come up from Uganda and he tell me, say, when you reach Africa, you come like a royalty. That's because of Rastafari. So every Jamaican should know about Rastafari, whether you're a Christian or you're a Rasta, because it is your history.
Yeah.
And it's a part of Jamaica.
I want to thank you for the work. As I said, and we just underscore once more that it's an introduction to the book, Behold Rastafari, Roots of an Indigenous Jamaican Culture, Cultural Movement that is Changing the World, Ansel Padaishan, Palmer Raspadaishan, we know him as. The book is available. Where is it available, Raspadaishan?
Well, I have it, and it is on the Big River. And I want to talk about Big River here, but you can check on the Big River.
iNation has it?
At America there.
iNation have
iNation,
it?
no, it will be at iNation. I need to work out with him.
All right. Okay, so...
and as I talk about the Renaissance in the 90s, iNation was a great part of that. I remember iNation on his bike riding around, selling the books.
That is true.
And just to see how iNation would have grown and flourished now in the movement. It's phenomenal.
Phenomenal. All right, so we'll talk to you another time. Thank you so much, my brother. Respect your time. I know the JTA conference probably just wrapped up or is probably still on the way.
It's wrapped up.
It's wrapped up. You were there, right?
Yes, man, I was.
I saw you. All right. Okay. I said to my daughter, you see that gentleman sitting there? He's going to be on my program on Sunday. All right. Thank you, my brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Raspadaishan. Once again, the book is Behold Rastafari, Roots of an Indigenous Jamaican Cultural Movement that is Changing the World. I'm going to go to my next very special guest, but I also want to just say something quickly, which is to say that the government of Jamaica is heading to the UK on September 6th. I think they're supposed to be presenting a petition to King Charles III on September 7th, and it is a reparations petition. Within that context, and I've been looking at this very closely, I've been talking about this very seriously, that because the government has gone off to present their own petition, they say they're doing it in the name of the Jamaican people, they're doing it for their own egos, and this has nothing to do with the Jamaican people. The Jamaican people don't want to bow to King Charles, but there needs to be two petitions to the head of state, King Charles, if that is the case. One from the people of Jamaica, which should be the Jamaican people's petition to King Charles, head of state of Jamaica. The Jamaican petition is asking 3 questions, and we should also ask 3 questions. I'm going to go into this later on, but I'll just tell you what the 3 questions are quickly that the Jamaican people should be asking King Charles. Can a sovereign state that has inherited laws created under colonial rule legitimately continue to enforce those laws when their present operation perpetuates the social and economic inequalities created by that colonial order? I'm going to explain it later on. Question 2. The people of Jamaica petition to King Charles. What responsibility does the Crown bear for identifying, acknowledging, and remedying colonial laws and legal structures that continue to produce materially unequal outcomes in Jamaica after independence? And the 3rd question. Will the Crown support a formal review of Jamaica's surviving colonial-era legislation to determine which laws should be repealed, fundamentally amended, or retained because they remain compatible with the rights and sovereignty of the Jamaican people? you know, we're calling for a colonial legacy, legal legacy review. And this must be sent in tandem. If we can't go to England to give it to King Charles, the head of state and the King of Jamaica, then we'll take the questions in the petition form, formal petition, to the Governor General on the 7th of September or the 6th of September. But somehow we must, at the same time, that the Jamaican government has gone off begging for reparations for King Charles, demand internal reparations here on the island of Jamaica against and for the colonial laws that are still in place that are oppressing the people of Jamaica, and we're talking about landlessness, access to the beach, just poverty, structural violence, the colonial laws that continue to perpetrate that. I have a wider document. Hopefully I'll get a chance to read it. I need 15 minutes clear to read that, Peter, later on this morning. Hopefully we can get that. A very legal document, because we must, the people of Jamaica, submit our own petition for internal reparations on the island before you go off and beg and before you go off and bow to King Charles. And we're not against reparations. But before you go off and do what you're planning to do, then you are head of the reparations, National Council of Reparations here in Jamaica. You must, without fail, immediately begin the process of internal reparations, which will take into consideration the Beach Colonial Act, right? The access to land, so whatever land laws you have on the book, whatever beach laws you have on the book, whatever colonial laws that you have on the book, you have the power to immediately deal with that within the context of internal reparations. If you do not do that to the team that's heading to England, which includes my very good friend, Bert Samuels, it is hypocritical. It's hypocrisy. It is wickedness. It is the heights of your manufacturing consent for who? For yourself, because you hear that reparations is being given left, right, and center by this church and that church and that church. And I'm not talking about now. I'm going off. But the point I'm making is to say that there must be internal reparations that must immediately look at colonial era laws. And we, the people of Jamaica, must submit a petition to the King of Jamaica, the head of state of Jamaica, which is Charles III, on September 6 or 7, asking for the very same internal reparations, which has to do directly with the legal legacy of colonialism on this island in Jamaica. Let me take a quick break. I'll be right back.
If you're a small business owner or an independent contractor, get critical illness insurance and cover up to 80% of your medical costs with Sagicor Pro Shield. The time by Sagicor Life is
6 minutes after 7 o'clock. We're inside of the Africa Forum. My very special guest online is the president of JABEM, Dr. Devon Taylor, senior biomedical research scientist in immunology, working in the biopharmaceutical industry in the United States, and advocate for social justice, for human rights, and against any form of oppression and imperialism. Dr. Devon Taylor, good morning, sir. Thank you so much for joining us inside of the Africa Forum.
Greetings, Cabo. Good to be here. Greetings, Jamaica. Reparation must be internal first,
Yeah, I saw you just 2 days ago right here in Jamaica. I take it you're no longer in Jamaica?
Not right now, you know what I mean? Dealing with Babylon,
Yeah. And we're going to come to that because we were, I think you came in straight from the United States, and we were at the consultation about overwater bungalows to be constructed in the sea in Jamaica. Let us start there, because we can start there. What was your thinking? Because I left in a huff and a puff. What was your thinking? You stayed, and I'm not quite sure how you managed it, but you stayed. How was it, the overall? What, at the end of the day, did we learn anything? Did we feel any better leaving there?
Well, I mean, the community largely stood up against what is being projected, which is the privatization of the sea. So the environmental groups that were there were many, and they all, based their objection, in signs, based their objection in the laws of the land, and they base their objection in what they see as, opening in Pandora's box that would further destroy the sea. We have already built too many hotels on our beaches that creates a lot of degradation problem, remove too many coastal forests, impact too many mangroves, and damage too many wetlands. And so the environmental community was very united that this development should not be there. And so, that was, really, the summary of the evening. I mean, there were many other things going on in there where, we see a trend now when these kind of EIA are, being presented to the public, that there are people who come to these EIA to be disruptive, and they really there's no constructive criticism or even constructive support of the project they have. They just come there and says, we want this, and their rationale is actually not looking comprehensively at the impact, which is what the study is asking you to determine this kind of impact, environmentally, socially, economically, and really provide those in substantive ways based upon what is included in the report. They're just kind of like making all nice, challenging people, being really disruptive. And I find that, this is the second one that we have gone to that this happened. We went to one in Westmoreland for Paradise Pen, and it was very strange. You have a member of parliament present, and member of parliament was not present in this one, and a recognizable group.
Well, the mayor was there.
The mayor was there, and the mayor was very silent. I did not hear the mayor make a comment, for or against.
I had only one question, before I left, but I was so angry. I said, you know what? Let me just calm myself down, leave there, and not ask anything in that space, which was to the mayor. And my only question would have been to the mayor, and I would have said, Mayor Belnavis, are you in agreement with this? That would have been my only question. Because just listening through the presentation, you got the impression that this is a done deal, and they were just ticking a box as a requirement of the environmental impact assessment to get the license. I don't know, it sounded just listening through this whole thing as if, this is all wrapped up, tied up in a bow and so on. One of the first things that we were told is no questions will be answered. So NEPA was saying they're not there to answer questions. Sandals was not there to answer questions. The what's the name of the company that did the research? Thames didn't seem as if they were there to answer questions. They were just there to present the thing. And then I began to feel used, and I said that to you. I said, I'm leaving here because I'm not voluntarily taking my body, much less my spirit, into a space to be used.
Yes, I mean, I think they tried to, make this kind of like, some kind of a, process that would, you see everybody like saying, yes, we need more jobs, economy need more jobs. So, let's rubber stamp this. But I think no, I think to the people who it matters, and to Jamaica and those of us who are standing up for, justice, or looking at, protecting environment and liberating coastline, we're there very forcefully saying no. I mean, I evoke the mayor's name when I said to them that, do you know that this beach is a gazetted beach, and a beach that has been gazetted since 1970s under the laws of Jamaica. And furthermore, in the St. Anne Development Order, the beach is recognized as a bathing and swimming beach for just decades, right? And so for that not to be considered, that is something that the EIA should have recognized, that the Miami Bay Beach is under law recognized as the people's beach.
Somehow, let me ask you about the Center and Development Order, because it's the very same document that Shahini Robinson and myself used in this space for many months, looking at what was about to happen to Roaring River, the Center and Development Order. And one of the things that we discussed time and time again was who changed the order, when was it changed, at what meeting was it changed, and how come Roaring River is now passing on to China. But Roaring River has passed on to China. So the Center and Development Order, to all intents and purposes, and I could be wrong, is a worthless document, isn't it? Because if it can just be changed willy-nilly, what is the worth of the Center and Development Order?
Well, Kabo, you're very correct. When these things are made by one arm of NEPA, right? I think it's Town and Country Planning in association with, of course, the local, municipal council, right? That determine what the development of the parish is going to look like. I'm hoping that still is the case, but it is recognized there, and for that to be gazetted also by Fishing Industry Act of 1976, and an active court case going on, which they said they can't comment on, right? Which the EIA, has many laws inside there, and they omitted the Prescription Act of 1882 was omitted from that EIA, and the EIA should consider that. They did not look at the Fishing Industry Act and how that is going to impact, that, statutory document that recognizes the space. Then the EIA is in a way violating the laws of the country. Right?
Well, the environment impact assessments have always, and I know it's a broad statement, but when we fought for this swamp area in Discovery Bay, when the environmental impact assessment was presented, it allowed the building of hotels along that whole corridor of wetlands in Discovery Bay. And the environmental impact assessment was what was used. So I'm coming forward again to these documents, these projects, these assessments. Are they just to tick a box, but all these are already done deals, whatever contracts are to be signed, already signed, whatever agreements to be entered into, already entered into, so that what is the power, and where does the power of the people lie? Think on that a minute. Let me just take a quick break and come back.
Welcome to the new era of identity management. The National Identification and Registration Authority, NaRRA, brings together the Registrar General's Department and your secure national identification card under one organization. From birth and marriage services to your national ID card, NaRRA delivers secure, simple, efficient service for Jamaicans. Visit our offices to learn more. NaRRA, safeguarding your identity, securing your future. One secure identity.
This and every Sunday, the golden oldies, best of the 60s, 70s and 80s at Sweet Lips Bar, Cotton Piece, Yuatan. Music by High Tension with guest DJs. Sunday, August 30, DJ Pops Movements and Michael Thompson. Hits from the 60s, 70s and 80s from 12 noon to 12 midnight. Refreshment on sale. This and every Sunday, Sweet Lips Bar, Cotton Piece, Yuatan.
MPA presents Summer Praise Fest 2026. Family Fun Day and Gospel Concert. Sunday, August 23. Jocks Hall Sports Complex, St. Anne. Fun galore. First 300 children get a free school bag. Gospel show starts at 5 p.m. with John Mark Wigan, Gary Sales, Sebastian Braham, Humble, and many more. Children 2,000 pre-sold, 2,500 at the gate. Ride all day free. Adults 1,500 pre-sold, 2,000 at the gate. Gates open at 10 a.m. Tickets at all Western Union outlets in St. Anne. Proceeds in aid of 1,000 school bags for victims of Hurricane Melissa. Sponsored by Island Dairies, Manuka Construction, St. Anne Municipal Corporation, Ranch Concrete Services, and Yoba. Summer Praise Fest, August 23. See you there!
Midas Entertainment and A Rivers Lounge present Sophisticated, the Summer's End Beach Party featuring Vanessa Bling. Music by Triple X, Illusion Sound, and Bishop Escobar on August 29 at Plantation Cove. Gates open at 4 p.m. Mixed drinks inclusive until 7. So get your tickets now at select Festival locations, the Trends, Zion Barbican, Greenhouse Taj Mahal, and 8 River Ultra Lounge, or online at aitix.app. Sophisticated is where the summer ends. It's a Dream Weekend endorsed event.
Stone's Ginger Wine Footloose is back Saturday, August 29th. It's the Showtime edition, live at Mass Camp with none other than our girl, Vanessa Bling. Ladies, you're 2 for 1 before 11 p.m. Admission $1,500 per person, $2,500 at the gate. Buy your pre-sold tickets through Jamdex and get an extra $500 off.
You know, we're back with you inside of the Africa Forum. This is Running African. While we were off just with the ads, just having a quick little chat with Peter about this magazine. We're going to be talking about it later on. Jamaica Life. It's one to look at, one to read, and to pay some attention to. It is available, and we'll tell you more about it later. Dr. Devon Taylor is on the line, and we're looking at 1% beach access and squatting in the foreshore. Devon, I want to talk to you for a minute. I know you're not an attorney, but you do play one on radio and TV from time to time. You know, sometimes you see how advocacy makes us all into attorneys. This is weird.
It does, you know.
We can pass it by.
With Dr. Marcus Goff, you know what I mean?
Marcus, it look like we're all coming for your job, sir, because this stay away. All right. Devon, we talk a lot about squatting, and we even hear the Prime Minister talking about squatting within the context of the Cooper's Pen debacle. And the discussion on squatting is the biggest thing in Jamaica right now. But we're talking about squatting and land. When we look at what's happening, Sandals is not the only company that's doing overwater bungalows in Jamaica. And this is something that seems to be catching on within the tourism industry. But aren't these bungalows being built on the foreshore? And the question then becomes, why is it squatting on land? And how is squatting on land different from squatting on the foreshore or in the foreshore? Isn't it just the same squatting?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've never really looked at it in that context, but yes, you know, I mean, they are taking over, right, a piece of the country, one of the most significant piece, right? And I will say there's some difference there if we want to kind of, you know, dice this up, right? Because the coastline is a very, you know, finite space, right? Land is too, but the significance of the coastline and how it's linked to our life, right? Linked to the survivability itself of the physical land Jamaica, right? The coastline is linked to that, very much linked to that. The ecosystems that are there, right, are essential to protect the integrity of the country itself, to guard us against, you know, the rising, impact of climate change, right? The sea is critical for absorbing a lot of the CO2 produced, and, you know, the sea produces a lot of oxygen, more than that land produce. So it's so critical of a piece of ecosystem that this should be protected, you know, under, you know, really strong environmental law. And so when that is overexploited by, you know, this industry, then it puts our liberty and our life, you know, in threat. And so
the tourism industry in Jamaica becomes the biggest squatter, because you're talking about the foreshore. Yes. And we're always told, and every time I have a conversation from the 1990s till now about access to the beach and how we're losing the beach and so on, it always comes back to, well, you have a right to access to the foreshore, right? The foreshore is how you can enter the beach. And this is why we're always saying that we must enter from sea or we enter from sky, whether we come from boat or we come from helicopter, because the problem is on land. Because people block the land, private sector people block, and tourism interests block the land, so you have no access to the land. But if you can come in from the ocean to the foreshore, then you have every right to be there. No, sir?
Well, you know, about the Beach Control Act Section 3, Part 4 says we have no right to the foreshore of the island, right? You know, or the floor of the sea, right? Except to pass over it for navigation.
Then when I can pass over it?
Well,
At least we can pass over it. We don't have no access to the land. We can't even pass over that.
Well, I mean, you know, the foreshore, the floor of the sea, right? It says we don't have that fundamental right.
So we do not have that fundamental right.
We do not. So if you go a deep sea,
so who has the right?
Right, you can go and go navigate out there, but as in this nearshore era, this wet sand era, this dry sand era, the nearshore floor of the sea that is understood to be Jamaican territorial water, we don't have the right that is vested in the crown. The crown is the sovereign owner of the space, right? Administrated by the administration that is in power,
and this takes me back.
This current JLP administration now would administer over the foreshore and have the power. They have the power to make laws, change laws within the interest of the people. The Beach Control Act and its repeal and replacement is a very simple thing, you know, very simple thing politically. They can just do it. They can do it. The numbers are there. And I think also the PNP is in support of, you know, I mean, changing the legislation.
I do not agree with you. I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. I do not agree with you. If the PNP had that thinking, it would have happened already. Because we've been fighting this very same thing under any government, JLP, NP, it don't matter who, for years, and nothing has changed. As a matter of fact, we are bearing witness to how we keep losing bits and pieces of the beach. Do you think, Devon, think about it. This is not since 2016 we're losing beach, you know.
No, absolutely. And we have been saying that. I'm quoting what, you know, was traded.
No, you cannot quote any politician inside here, sir.
During the election period, right? But that this is what would be done, right? Okay. So you know, listen.
I want you to answer.
Nuance here, Kabu.
No, nothing no nuance. Devon, you cannot be.
Both of them agree, and both of them is running the government.
It's
right
obvious that they agree.
Parliament.
Devon, they agree on something. Because what you say, you're not what you say you are. You're what you do.
Absolutely.
So what are we seeing? What is the action that we're seeing? What are the outcomes we're seeing for the last how many years? And this is, I'd asked you earlier going into the break, where does the power come? We the people, what is the power that we have? Do we go to King Charles III with the petition that I have written with the help of ChatGPT?
Well, I want to answer a couple of things here, right? And we're going to ask some pointed questions.
Go ahead.
You say is actions. What are their actions? Because right here, we could ask the political class, right, if they are for fundamental rights, right? We want them to answer this because we're going to talk about the stats and the jumping and trying to, call all of us liars. We want them to declare. Since Jamaicans have no right to their beaches, will they declare that Jamaicans must have fundamentals and unfettered rights to the coastline and declare that? We're asking them today because that is the root of the whole thing as our own rights.
Say that again, Devon.
Right? Will the political class, right, issue a statement and act on it that Jamaicans should have fundamental rights to their beaches and to the sea, and they will repeal and replace the Beach Control Act of 1956, right, with a law that guarantees us rights.
Yes.
Right? To the foreshore and the sea. So that we put out there, right? So now is the time when all the media, the people talking about it, everybody talking about it. So now come declare it is. And we don't need well, if this condition is met, well, if that condition is met, we want to know.
It's a yes or no question. Without caveat. It's a yes or no question. We want yes or no answer.
No question.
Without caveats.
Without caveats, right? Without no conditions. And if this and if that, we just want to say, yes, we believe in the rights of the people for this space, right? I will say this in follow-up. Yes, if they're talking about squatting as some illegal act, right? If they're seeing squatting as, taking over a space, right? Then absolutely we see that the hotel industry, private villas, resorts, have taken over the coastline, right? and has dispossessed the people from the space. Absolutely. They have done that. The hotel is guilty of that. They do things in the space that we can't do.
And we see squatting in the foreshore.
And we see them
on the foreshore.
On the foreshore where they don't own.
Yes.
Right? If them have said people are squat there because they don't own the land, then the hotel do not own the foreshore. They don't own the sea. And they are using it in that way, as if they own it, locking us out of it. Right?
So Minister Ed Bartlett must talk to us about squatting within the tourism sector, but at the level of ownership and management, and especially at the level of ownership and government. Government is allowing this squatting without the kind of strident response that we see coming from the Prime Minister, for example, and the Minister of Tourism. As a matter of fact, I'm going to segue a bit to say to you quickly that I pray for you, because I hear the thinly veiled threat coming from the minister to Jabem. Because when you talk about advocacy in Jamaica, then and especially advocacy for the beach and access to the beach, then that is coming from Jabem. And, I'm not even putting anything African in it right now, because, Kunumi Matak, almost really you, right? So
strength for me.
It has to be you. In terms of what the minister said, and did you hear it, and what's your thinking of it? Because one of the things that the minister suggested, the Minister of Tourism, is that people like yourself are advocating for access to the beach and to land in Jamaica because of some nefarious ulterior motives.
Yes, we read through that. We've seen it. It's not the first time when we started this movement and our first protest at Bob Marley Beach, which prevented, the takeover of Bob Marley Beach when they were, when a statement was issued that the bulldozers were coming. Right. And, we pushed back, the community to come together. Statements were made in the media, about that we are inimical to freedom, to progress. And, we are practicing politics of the poor and we are false prophet. And these kind of statement was directed, against the movement, against myself and against, Dr. Goff. Right. And we have seen it, coming up, the statement about that we are liars, right? Pointing out that we are liars and we are liars, the kind of thing that is used to, harm people, calling them out that we are doing things that are not necessary. And, hearing, the Minister of Tourism comes out, said that we have an axe to grind and we have these kind of advocacy arrangement, and so, we are harming the country and doing this in ways that everyone know that Jabem is at the forefront in collaboration with the people and several communities across Jamaica, leading this fight. Not something that we, started, as you, know that, historically the fight has been coming, for generations, for decades. People have been fighting since the 50s. Okay, they have been fighting, and we are carrying on this torch for this.
And you go to the 50s. You go to the 50s. I'm gonna take a quick break and come back.
Okay.
Real Deal Electrical Hardware Sales and Services, the one-stop electrical people, is now at 2A Cottage Road, Montego Bay. With a showroom! Construction, electrical, plumbing and hardware supplies. Services include home rebuilding, renovations, electrical drawings and inspections, AC installations, solar inspections, plus licensed electricians and inspectors island-wide. Call 217-5000 or IG Real Deal Electrical. Real Deal Electrical Hardware Sales and Services, where quality meets real value.
From the creators of Money Fridays, we introduce to you another radio first. Grab back.
Stay locked into Irie FM on the 107 this and every Monday in the wake-up call for Grab Bag, and you could win up to $50,000 cash weekly plus other prizes.
All you have to do is call Irie FM when you hear it's Grab Bag time. Tell the announcer which bag to dip into, and what comes up is yours, just like that.
It could be a gift from a sponsor. It could be $10,000. It could be $30,000. It could be a whopping $50,000. Or it could be, sorry, try again.
But if you don't have a representing hand in the bag, you don't have a chance.
Grab Bag is brought to you courtesy of
Tiles R Us Limited, Banners Valley, St. Elizabeth. Tiles R Us.
Jamaica, your voice can help shape the future of animation. The government invites you to a public consultation on the National Animation Policy Green Paper. Are you an animator, creative, storyteller, student, or passionate about animation? We want to hear from you. Join us in Montego Bay August 20 at S Hotel or Kingston August 24 at Rock Hotel from 4 to 7 p.m. Admission and refreshments are free. Brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Advanced Service Station, Island Vibes Food Court, and Jacon Foods, in association with Help Jamaica Medical Mission, present the annual St. Thomas Health Fair on Saturday, September 5 at the Yalis Primary School from 9 a.m. until everything free. Eye exams, blood pressure checks, blood sugar tests, school medicals, and general checkup with more doctors and nurses to serve you better. Fun activities and refreshments all day. See you on Saturday, September 5 at the Yalis Primary School for the annual St. Thomas Health Fair.
All right, we're back with you inside of the Africa Forum. This is Running African 1% beach access, squatting on the foreshore. That's a topic of discussion between Devon Taylor, the president of JABEM, and myself right now. Devon, the phone lines, the text lines, every line's blowing up, right? And people, all different kinds of comments are coming in. So we're seeing them, and we'll hopefully have some time to go through them later on. But the point that you talk about the fight for access to beach, access to land from the 50s, and this is why we go back to, you talk about the colonial era laws, because the fight that we have right now, the lack of access that we have, the fact that we're losing more and more spaces, whether it is mangrove, whether it is watershed, whether it's a beach, whether it's a foreshore, the fact that we continue to lose that, a lot of this has to do with colonial era laws. And earlier before you came on, or just when you came on, we were talking about the petition that the Jamaican government, through the National Council of Reparations, will be taking to King Charles as King of Jamaica and head of state of Jamaica. And they're asking for historical, for King Charles to answer questions regarding slavery. And all of this is kind of centered around slavery. There is the National Council of Reparations. There isn't there a case to be made for internal reparations that starts with the government of Jamaica regarding the very same laws that they're criticizing the United Kingdom for, that they're blaming King Charles and the monarchy and all of that. And remember, we stand for reparations in this space. We've been fighting for reparations for many, many years. But isn't there a case to be made for internal reparations, looking at those very same laws that came from King Charles' government before you go, that you have some authority and autonomy over? You can change this. You just said it a while ago. You can change this. The Beach Control Act. You can change this. You have that power. You have that authority. Isn't there a case to be made for internal reparations before Minister Babsy Grange and erudite lawyers from Jamaica make their way to England to demand that Charles answer questions about historical wrongs?
Absolutely, Cabo. I mean, the evidence is very clear. The harm that has been done to the Jamaican people and to the land. So the case, in terms of internal reparation, is very, very clear here. Listen, we was forcefully brought across, the Atlantic by sea, right? And we were brought to Jamaica as property, and that was legal, under English law. And we came here to a property that they control, and we were treated as property for just hundreds of years, working under these conditions that were inhumane to build these people economy, right? And so, when we remain on this land, technically, the system is treating us as property and preventing us from really using this piece of property, because the Beach Control Act convert the shoreline into property of the state, and also a component of it to the plantocracy who own land before the foreshore.
And these laws are coming. These laws are coming from the very same King Charles era. From the I say King Charles, we mean the seat of the monarchy.
Absolutely.
So how does Jamaica go to England to demand that King Charles answer questions re reparations when they haven't dealt with the questions that they can answer right here on the ground in Jamaica, including access to land? The land,
Yes.
any law that deal with land, because the access to sea is the same access to land, isn't it?
It is the same, Kabo, and the laws are around the Property Vesting Act that vest land in the Crown, right? The Registration of Titles Act that really chop up these parcels of land, you know, and hand them over to the rich, right? These are the land laws in the country, and the Beach Control Act of 1956 fall in line with how property is controlled, and it is controlled to do what? It is controlled to make sure they have control over people. That is the way how the capitalism model works, right? You have to have control over people, and these laws are designed in such a way to perpetuate, to continue the colonial logic of control,
and these laws are,
displacement, disempowerment of Black people, so that it all adds up. And so you could fix those in...
Before you go to Charles.
You absolutely. And you could No, you could then show, you know, I mean, by evidence that we are reforming structurally and meaningfully your sets of law that have hurt our people. So now we want to challenge you and the past that had created these conditions that harmed us. And you would have a lot of legitimacy, you know what I mean, but by not coming to the people, right, these kind of things were never really included.
We demand from the National Council of Reparations, the Ministry of Culture, the eminent legal luminaries that will be heading to the UK next week and a half from now, that you first deal with internal reparations. The monarchy of England has left colonial laws on the island that continue to oppress the people of Jamaica. That is in favor of the plantocracy, of the descendants of the very same enslavers and the plantocracy in general. You haven't dealt with those laws. And I think it's a shame and hypocrisy that you are heading to England to demand from Charles what you will not do on the island of Jamaica.
They have not, you see, what I want to also kind of bring in the customary rights here, right? When we talk about law, because, you know, law is not going to save us. You know, we can't legislate how we live.
Right.
We can't legislate our people's liberty and life, right? That happens when we have social arrangements, you know, that is customary, that we practice for generations, right? And we live good with each other, we live good with environment. You know what I mean? Rastafari say, I and I, you know, in spaces, you know, oneness with earth, oneness with people. That is the social living that we're talking about, and that cannot be legislated. But I should introduce here that Jamaican people have fundamental rights through customary law, common law, to the foreshore, right? And the system do recognize that, but it puts a burden and proof on us that we now have to gather the evidence and go into their court, right, to validate our common law rights. And these things should not happen, because everyone in Jamaica know we used to just cross road, cross whatever land, use these lands and go to beaches, right? Coastal land is nothing new to us. We've been using them since time immemorial. We have been, and our customary rights should be recognized. This is what the case that we are using, the law all across the country that we are using, is the customary recognition of the rights of the Jamaican people to these spaces. And the state is now using their statutory laws that they put on the book, which is the Beach Control Act, to fight us and trying to tell us we have no prescriptive rights to these spaces, while these hotels squat on our beaches, violating, you know, even gazetted, the state gazetted, you know, laws that these places are recognized. The Blue Lagoon is recognized as a national monument, and the beach is recognized as a customary common space that we used to use. So is Miami Bay. These places are recognized. So the state is confused.
The state is not confused. The state is wicked.
The state is
There's
wicked.
no confusion. They as a brother just wrote me to say that they have all agreed on the outcome. And we are here fighting in the middle. And this is why I go back to what power do we have. But Devon, let me go quickly to 1%. So Ed Bartlett, the minister, has said that Jabem is lying. The research that Jabem and others have led, that you're lying that Jamaica only has or less than 1% or 1% access to the beach. And I know Jabem has put out a lot of statements on that. We see also where Jet has put out another statement last week to say there should be a definitive statement on beach access and calling for more. But so help us to understand what the minister said, put that in context for us and what the reality is, and show us the lie or the truth.
Yeah, well, I mean, the truth is in our lives. The liberty of the Jamaican people know that, right? We do not have access to most of the coastline. It is behind walls, right? It's behind land titles. It's behind fence, chain link fence with razor wires, concrete walls with razor wires on top of them. You know, we've been locked out of the coastline. And with the government even own statistics, right, that we only have, 2.8 miles of the coastline accessible to Jamaican people, that with a 494 mile around the country, that clearly, if you do the math, demonstrate that we have less than 1% on it. And actually, we're happy that the Jamaica Environmental Trust came out and really corroborated our data that we've put out there. You're looking at, a graphic from Beach in a Bondage that was also independently calculated by the filmmakers that really demonstrate that, right? And as we says, this shows, the problem in a statistical kind of way. But the rights, is the big issue here. And, if you look at, the government document in 2000 where they list the number of beaches and they list the number of hotel beaches, you will see that, we only in 2000 had, quote unquote, public access to 88 beaches, while there were another 336 beaches that were associated with hotel, villas, and guest house. And the minister have not yet tell us.
Okay, so what we have heard, they've put out a list, and I'm not sure if Peter has that list, but they've put out a list of 60 beaches, right? Say Jamaicans have access to 60 beaches. And that list is making the rounds because a lot of taxpayer money have gone into funding that, because they say they are responding to disinformation from people like yourself. And so that list is all over town. The amount of people who have sent that list to me. Now, I want you to put that list in perspective, which is what you started doing just now, because they say 60 beaches and they have named those 60 beaches. But let me take a very quick break and come back.
Safe, reliable, great value. Always buy from an authorized IGL dealer. The time by IGL is
7:46. Devon Taylor, director of Jabem, is on the line. Devon, 60 beaches, that is making the rounds. People are calling me about it. 60 beaches.
I mean, the government should be ashamed, to publish to the world that an island surrounded by water, surrounded by beaches, we only have 60 of them, right? And, they should, in contrast, put how many that we don't have access to. Right, because when you look at it, in 2025, there are 352 beaches that are associated with hotels and villas that we do not have access to, that we have locked out of, right? And then there are others that are behind wire fence. So most of the coastline, we just do not have access to it. I mean, we are even generous when we actually do some of our comparison here, where we're saying that, well, it's kind of like 72 beaches, and then there are another 352 that are associated with hotels. So 83%, of what they're, we are considering beaches reported by the government is in the private hands. So a majority of the coastline is. So, when the accuracy of looking at measuring it, looking where all the coves are, we're all, and we just don't use also sandy beaches, we're off rock edges, we're off jumping off cliffs, we're fishing in these spaces, we are pouring libation, we're saying with prayer, right? The fundamentally, Cabo, right? We don't have any rights under the statutory law. but we have rights under customary law, right? And they want to keep it that way. And this is why the minister have not addressed the fundamental question that we have asked. In our press release, we have asked it, right?
So there is
Do
intellectual...
Jamaicans have a right to their foreshore, to their beaches and to the sea? Does Jamaican have that?
So there's intellectual dishonesty in the minister's statement, in also the fact that there's silence on the question that you have asked. But so we hear the statement from the minister. We're not going to say the minister was lying. We're going to say that there's academic and intellectual dishonesty. And we can also say that the minister, probably through his research team, and I don't know who the research team is for the Ministry of Tourism, have been given the incorrect data. Because you're saying JABEM's research, which is also academic research, scholarly academic research, that it belies everything. But also our lived experiences belies everything that the minister has said. But let me just say this. There is a thinking among many in Jamaica that with this information in the space, 60 beaches and all of the rest of it, that is really a big deal. So it is important for what you're doing, which is to do a comparative study and to say, but, you know, these are the amount of beaches that are available to the tourism industry that we are locked out of. And you don't even count the ones behind the wire fence. Jah is the earth's rightful ruler and him no run a wire fence. And yet a lot of that is happening on the island. Also on the list, beaches that I recognize that are really not beaches. They're just stony ground, or they are not suitable to be named as a beach, right? In terms of where you go, have a good swim and have a picnic and whatever. So there is that. Also, there are beaches that are left off that we think we still have access to, but they're not on the list. Is this what JABEM is seeing, and what's your thinking on that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, sometimes you don't even know where to start.
Don't start, just answer the question.
Because, you know, them come up with these numbers trying to, you know, I mean,
it's a numbers
of course,
game.
You know, disrupt the movement for the call for rights. That's what they're trying to do with these numbers, right? And, you know, as I said, we don't want to get buried in it because, you know, the lived experience of the Jamaican people. I mean, you know, just when they published this list, there's an attempt on Draper's Beach in Sanko Bay, right? Which would have taken that off the list.
Is Sanko Beach on the list?
Draper's and Sanko Bay is one and the same.
Oh, it's Draper's.
But they tried to take that off. Right now,
we knew they were coming for Drapers. You know, when we told the people of Drapers that they were coming for that beach, the people of Drapers told us to get lost. A lot of the people in Drapers told me personally to get lost when we told them they were going to come for that beach. So I didn't realize it's the same beach.
It's the same beach, right? The community is now fully united, you know, ready to stand up and defend their space. You have seen a social media post. But also, I mean, they have Blue Hole on the list. Blue Hole is the subject of a contested rights.
That's Blue Lagoon?
The Blue Lagoon case, which the Port and Municipal Parish Council comes out and says, we have no prescriptive rights to the Blue Lagoon, but the government is listing that on the list, right? When we talk about Trial Beach, slated for divestment, right? They're putting that on the list, Font Hill Beach. So, I mean, what I'm saying here is, you pointed out that the government is wicked. The government is putting up beach that are, you know, up for divestment, that we have public access to it, and beaches that they're contesting and say we have no right to them. And if, you know, I mean, if somehow, some miraculous way, they're able to dispossess us from the Blue Lagoon, we're going to lose access to Blue Hole Beach. So you can see that, you know, what they're doing with these kind of numbers is not to, you know, demonstrate to the Jamaican people that, yes, we have a lot of beaches, this is not a lot of beaches. It is to distract from the fundamental call that we are making, that the public is making, that the international community have now recognized that there is this kind of dispossession in the country to support the tourism product that is displacing Jamaican people. So it's an attempt to protect that class, to say that, listen, This not going to work, because here are these people over here. We give them 60 beaches and we give you 352. We now going to change the law, so you will continuously be able to continue to dispossess the people and take over the whole thing. That is the statement. It's a reassurance to the capitalists them. It's a reassurance to all of them friends that we now got change no law around here so to benefit the Jamaican people. So we want say them have enough around there, and you the Jamaican people be quiet, because we just announced you have 60. So go hold that and hold your corner. That's what them a try, but it not gonna work. And all the argument them a make and I come after myself, I come after Jabem, let them come. Because them can't get around.
Let us talk about the beaches that are in contention now, even as we speak, because there is that you just mentioned, Draper's Beach, which is Sanko Beach, and we saw what's happening there. Kudos to the people who are holding strain in Draper's, even though there were so many who initially said, well, it's development and this is what development does, and we're going to be better off. But now you find out that you're losing the spaces. We have a similar situation, I know, in St. Thomas, because St. Thomas is being developed for a whole different kind of tourism. And that, I think, is also critical. So St. Thomas people have to really hold strain. You're going to lose almost everything there. And there we see some other beaches recently in the news in terms of people trying to defend the spaces and holding closer to the spaces. So what are the beaches in contention now?
Well, let's jump to the most recent one, which is Jacob Taylor Beach, right?
Where is that?
This is in Trelawney, right down there in the Silver Sands area, in Duncan's, right? And eviction notice was placed on, fishermen, of them building on, spaces there, right? That
people have been on that beach for over what?
People have been there since
50 years.
We met with the community and we understand the history in the space. They have been there for generations. There was a 77-year-old fisherman in there that, talk about the history of his father and within the space, right? So so them did a long time, right? And them try slate this place, NRCA put eviction notice on there and saying, well, you have to lift up, right? We need them spaces, yeah. You can't do that to people. That is a very contentious space. You can't do it. And, we, Jabem, is standing with the Jacob Taylor Beach, which is also Derby Beach is historical name, right? And they're not going to be able to take that space, fundamentally. No, not going to happen. Right? And we see, of course, we say Sanko, Bill, the people them come on and put on padlock and the facilities there and trying to, push the ones off, in them kind of dispossessive fashion. Jabem is standing with Sanko Bill community. It's not going to happen, right? We see what is going on in Barking Lodge, Old Pera. That is not going to happen either. So these are live underground situation, right? We see One Man Beach is now fall under theft, slated for, again, some kind of divestment. Such is Walter Fletcher Beach, Fontaine, Trial, even Pearly Beach. We have seen, the walls that is now put up around, Brownlow Beach, that is right before Chinese Harbor Engineering Company space, and Laughing Water, and the land access to the beach there is now been blocked, right? So all of these running battles on the ground, right? The
and I'd like to say something to the government of Jamaica, hold your point and remember what you're saying. That I remember being here in this space a Sunday morning many years ago, and the security guard came to tell me, called to say, Shahini Robinson, who was Member of Parliament for the area, was at the gate and needed to talk to me urgently. She was not booked for the program. Why did she need to come in the studio? She needed to come in the studio because she had just come from jogging in a space that she has always jogged, running every morning, and she was met with men with long guns telling her, who was a Member of Parliament, that she could no longer access this area. Which area was she referring to? The Laughing Water areas. And she made a point of almost bawling in the studio here to say, we cannot take these areas from the people. She says, I am the minister, I am the MP at the time, and I have been met with long guns. And my listeners will remember that. So the point I'm making is, regardless, so the spaces that we're fighting for, that we continue to lose, how do we maintain? Winifred Beach, for example, is on the list, right? But the Winifred Beach fight lasted for almost 15 years.
Yes,
and still not settled.
They still don't give up. They still want to take the space. They still want to take it. You see, one of the things, and the consciousness that Jabem is, really kind of bringing, right, in an organized way as we mobilize on the ground is just demonstrating. See, you have a picture up with the razor wires that are on the coastline right in Little Duns River. Those are razor wires that the state erected, put up on the foreshore. If one of them juke you, you're done. And this is what the state is. The state is
violence,
coastal
state
land
violence, using colonial laws, state violence against the people of Jamaica. And you want to go to Charles to talk about historical violence? You deal with your ongoing state violence against the people of Jamaica.
They don't have the moral, right, capacity to do that. They don't have that. They not get no permission from the Jamaican people to do that on behalf of the Jamaican people, because we have a lot more to say, right, to Charles, right? And
exactly.
Our government have a lot more to account for us, for all the injustices. I am asking, who is, right? The question is rhetorical, Who is the government of the Jamaica under his Beach Control Act and under his land laws protecting the coastline for? Who? Why the coastal lands, which, as Jet says, should be commons with this foreshore and the sea? And Jabem have been long saying that for over 4 or 5 years now, that we have kind of been engaging the public, saying that the foreshore needs to be declared as public land, and a zone, a big swath of it, need really to fall and vested in the people, right? So who is it that they're protecting? Who?
That's a critical question.
Who controls most of the 352 beaches and the 366 beach licenses? Who control the license for the 3 overwater bungalow that exists in Jamaica, those privatized spaces to privatize the sea? Who? So the state is protecting their interests, their friend interests. That's what the state is doing.
This is where I'm going to leave it. Here's the thing. We probably have to go back to the 2016 general election, and we have to study campaign financing. We have to look closely at campaign financing in 2016 and beyond, all those general elections, because I think that will answer some question. And within that context, we must, even though Pete Hexted is telling Jamaica to come out of the International Court of Criminal Court, and even though I do not agree with the International Criminal Court, but we are going to have to take our own prime ministers, members of parliament, on both sides of the house, in that miasma that is the Parliament of Jamaica, to the International Criminal Court. I give you one final sentence.
Yes, and I says the state is protecting the coastline, honor them laws, honor them this guys, right? For a capitalist class that is dispossessing, displacing, right, and disempowering the Jamaican people.
Thank you, Devon.
And violence against the people along the coastline. That's who them are working.
Thank you so much.
We need to rise up and wise up and fight.
Thank you so much, my brother. We'll take a quick break.
You get chopped? Not take that. Make Mocha FIB and the police help you. Call 311 or 1-888-662-2847. The time by the FID, Mocha, and the JCF is
a minute after 8 o'clock. You're inside of the Africa Forum. This is Running African. An attorney at law has written this, and it's not Bert Samuels, because a lot of when I say attorney at law, people think it's Bert all the time. No. This is my friend Donnie. She says, Norman Manley Law School has many graduates. Where are the Jamaican advocates amongst them who believe in fundamental rights and freedoms? And then she talks about the fact that there is an issue where they do not want to change the laws, as they can hide behind notions of land and beach vested in the crown as an excuse to dispossess the people of Jamaica. I'm hearing a disturbance on the line. I think that might be my next guest. All right. So we go back to the phone lines. It sounds as if there might be a disturbance. Lloyd Diagulo, human rights activist. Lloyd, founder of the People's Anti-Corruption Movement, he stood out as defender of the people who were brutally attacked in Tivoli Gardens by the security forces in 2010. Good morning, Lloyd. Greetings, my brother. Lloyd is also a journalist, having worked at 3 radio stations in Jamaica and WBAI Radio in New York, where he started his radio experience. He campaigned against state corruption and on behalf of Nzinga King when her locks were cut in police lockup. Lloyd, are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me?
I'm just hearing you now, so that's good.
Hello?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear now.
Yes, good.
There's a lot of disturbance on the line. I'm not quite sure if it's coming from
yes.
you. It might be from your end. If we can clear that up, Lloyd.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I thought somebody was in your background. All right.
I can hear you.
Okay. Lloyd, it was, Lloyd Diagolo was also at the Oatridge High School. I was happy to have seen you there. Lloyd, and that we talk about the Overwater Bungalow consultation. Now, you were coming back when I saw you in Oatridge at that consultation, EIA. And you were coming back from Cooper's Pen. And you had met with the displaced people, those who were bulldozed and were living in abject conditions in Cooper's Pen. Can you quickly give us an idea of what the situation was that you witnessed in Cooper's Pen on Thursday?
Well, what was happening was, like everybody else, I heard about it and read about what had happened at Cooper's Pen. And I was very angry with what I read. And I decided that I wanted to go there to talk to the people. And so I went. And I met people who were suffering. Their homes had been destroyed. I was looking at their property, their fridge, all kinds of things had been going on. Some of them told me that they lost money inside the property that had been destroyed. And it was a very frustrating situation that I saw. And I spoke to them and I told them, listen, you have to organize yourself. You have to organize because you cannot allow the government, the state, the police to come and do this kind of violence to you and get away with it. You have to stand up. And so this is where I stand right now. I want to do what I can do to assist these people because their rights have been violated. As we all know, the police and whoever else carried the bulldozers and whatever, just came to their house at 3 o'clock in the morning and decided to start to mash up them house. And that is terrible. No notice was given to them, etc., as to what was going to happen. And they just showed up and started to do that. And then they took away about 20 to 30 men and carried them to the police station. And it is clear that they did that to the men because they were afraid that the men may defend the people and come to their assistance, etc. And they took them away for about 16 to 17 hours at the nearby police station. And that was also a violation of their constitutional right.
Just a minute, Lloyd. We're showing some pictures. We're showing some pictures on the screen for those who are on YouTube and Facebook and so on. And these are pictures that you took. These are photographs that you took on Thursday.
Yes, these are pictures that I took when I went there. And it was very, I'm telling you, it was so sad to see what it is that these people had suffered. They just went there and bulldozed their house. And I think that they lost millions of dollars by what was done to them. This was awful, was terrible. Yes, those are some of the pictures that I took.
There was also,
and as I said,
a protest, was it yesterday? There was a protest Friday or yesterday that the people protested?
Yes, there was a protest yesterday, and they were demanding that the Prime Minister answer, and respond to what it is that they have suffered, that he needs to get directly involved in resolving it. Because as you can see, they are now living on the tents. That's where they're living. And the day after I left, the next morning, they found some placards on the streets, and those placards were telling them within 24 hours, we are coming back here to destroy the rest of the stuff that you're seeing in these pictures. That is what happened. And again, they did not come and have a conversation with the people. They left the placards on the street, and the people found it. So something very criminal is going on right now, and they are correct in calling upon the Prime Minister to do something about it. He has the power to do something. But guess what? The Prime Minister has made it very plain that he does not support squatting, and these people are squatters.
Well, unless you're squatting on the foreshore. The Prime Minister is okay with squatting on the foreshore, because the tourism industry and the hotel industry is squatting on the foreshore. But let me ask you, Lloyd, because there is isn't there a greater issue here? And you brought us there with squatting, but beyond squatting, whatever laws these are, and you can go all the way back to emancipation. Bert Samuels was with us a few weeks ago, looking at the Emancipation Proclamation and how Africans who were enslaved on this island were dispossessed of land and housing at emancipation, and identified as vagrants and squatters and whatever it is, that from 1838, 1834 until now. So isn't there a greater issue when you look at the ongoing dispossession of the Jamaican people by the state violence against the Jamaican people who are landless? Isn't this where this conversation should be going now, in terms of how we begin to address land ownership and independence in Jamaica?
Well, absolutely. After slavery ended, the slave masters made it quite plain to the slaves, to the ex-slaves, that they must not go and capture land or take over the land, because they want them to come and work on the plantations. And if they go away and leave the area and go take over land and plant food and take care of themselves, then the sugar plantations won't have workers to work for them. And so that is the beginning of our squatting, law about squatting and so on. That is where that started. And it has continued today, because not only do we have big landlords who have hundreds and thousands of acres of land, but when we became independent in 1962, our former colonial master gave all the land to the government, calling it crown lands. And so therefore you have crown lands and you have big landlords, and nothing was done about the former slaves. We hear that the government is going to the Privy Council to ask them for reparations. Well, what about the government doing reparations for the ex-slaves that we are the citizens of Jamaica?
Exactly.
They have a duty to us for reparations.
That's right.
And, you can't, that's very hypocritical for you to be going to the Privy Council and so on and so forth and staring you before your face. So one of the things that we are calling for is land for the landless, that it should be a constitutional, a human right, a legal right, that those people who don't have land and want land should get land in order to do what it is that they want to do. Now, let me just say that both political parties have made it quite plain that they are not for squatting. Both of them, when they came, the PNP, when they came there, the JLP, all of them, the Prime Minister said, we don't believe in squatting. And they've also said that the landlord, which is the company that went to court and got the court to give them the land of the people in Cooper Spend, have a right to what it is that they have done. Both of them have said that. And none of them have said, well, listen, the solution to the problem is land for the landless. Yes. What they're doing is give the people a little food or a little tent where them say you can go sleep. And that is not the solution. And the people are saying also, if you read the newspapers and the quotations, they're saying that we need a deeper social, economic, and political solution to what it is that we have suffered. And we need to stand up for these people, because all over Jamaica, you have more Cooper Spend. It's all Cooper Spend.
And that's the point we're making, Lloyd, that the system, this is systemic. The system as it is configured in such a way, structural violence against the people of Jamaica, but it's configured in such a way that Cooper Spend will happen over and over and over and over again, because we have a lot of these informal settlements across the island of Jamaica. And at some point, especially with the development that we're seeing in certain areas of Jamaica, people are going to be driven off lands. So what is the solution before we have another Cooper Spend? And it has to be not just legislative. It has to go beyond constitutional, if you will. Isn't that where we need to go? When we talk about constitutional reform, that might take a while, but I see they have done, when they want to change something, they change it quickly. So this is not hard to do.
Absolutely, you're making a point which is absolute, because, you know, we the people have to come to the support and the defense of those people who are vulnerable at this point in time, because we need political change. And that is why my organization, the People's Anti-Corruption Movement, is planning a protest this coming Saturday, because the things that you are saying right now is what we, the people, have to get together and talk about. We have to do that. Because listen now, you know, I see the opposition leader is talking about, well, I'm going to start following Mr. Michael Manley and so on and so forth.
Foolishness.
And we're going to go back to democratic.
Foolishness.
We're going to go back to democratic socialism. Well, listen, there were so much shortcomings during that time there that it raises question. But let me say one thing. Jamaica has always been, and I give them credit for this, a supporter of Cuba. Well, when Cuba had their revolution, guess what? The state, the government, the new revolutionary government took over all the land. And they took the land from the big landowners and the big plantations. And they decided that they were going to give land to everybody, to all the peasants, so that they could take care of themselves and take care of the broader economy. So that is what we, the people in Jamaica, need to be talking about now. We need to be talking about fundamental change in the structure of our society.
And we must demand this. We must demand this, because we have been saying it for a while. I have to wrap up, Lloyd, but let me just say quickly. On Saturday, there will be a silent or not so silent protest. Tell me what's happening on Saturday.
Yes, it will be a placard protest at Emancipation Park at about 2 o'clock on Saturday coming, this Saturday coming. We're going to go there and hold up some placards and remind Jamaicans about what happened and what needs to be done. And we not only must there be protests in Cooper Spend, but there must be protests in Kingston, St. Catherine, Montego Bay, all over the place. We have to begin to try to do that, to send a strong message to the government, to the opposition, that we need fundamental change. We cannot allow this kind of thing to continue, and we need really serious change.
Thank you
that is
so
what
much,
we're
Lloyd.
going to do. And, yes.
Thank you so much, my brother. We'll see you on Saturday.
And thank you for having me on your program as well. Keep up the good work.
It boosts your energy, keep you on track. And strength and daily food. Savage and they on top. Fight and energy agree. When the people want in the streets, boost you up.
Need information on everyday financial matters? Then check out the Financial Corner. This and every Monday at 6 p.m. during Live at 5:45. We give relatable financial information, the latest financial news, as well as financial tips.
Brought to you by Quartz Ready Cash. Ready when you are.
That's Financial Corner. This and every Monday at 6 p.m. on the nation's #1 Irie FM.
Discover peace of mind at Azure Palm Wellness and Care, where we treat your loved ones like family. Our dedicated teams provide compassionate 24/7 skilled nursing care in a warm, comfortable, and safe environment with personalized care plans, engage in social activities, and home-cooked meals. We ensure your loved one feels right at home. We are located in Boscombe, Gibraltar, St. Mary. You can WhatsApp or call us at 876-465-4063.
Midas Entertainment and A Rivers Lounge present Sophisticated, the Summers and Beach Party featuring Vanessa Bling. Music by Triple X, Illusion Sound, and Bishop Escobar on August 29 at Plantation Cove. Gates open at 4 p.m. Mixed drinks inclusive until 7. So get your tickets now at select Fesco locations, The Trends, Zion Barbican, Greenhouse Taj Mahal, and 8 River Ultra Lounge, or online at aitix.app. Sophisticated is where the summer ends. It's a Dream Weekend endorsed event.
All right. We're back with you inside of the Africa Forum. Thank you so much, Lloyd Diagulo. And, Damien Crawford has been writing about this issue. Brilliant article by Damien Crawford, also Imani Tafari Amma. But just looking at some of the issues raised by Damien Crawford, he's raising some of the very same issues raised by Bert Samuels a few weeks ago, before this even happened, actually, but and also going beyond, because he talks about, let me just go quickly, he talked about, well, I think it is entitled Majoring in the Minor, from Cane Fields to Cooper's Pen, is the title of the document. And his central argument is that focusing almost exclusively on the roughly 600 occupants of Cooper's Pen risks majoring in the minor. And he said Cooper's Pen is presented as a symptom of a much larger national problem. He says approximately 700,000 Jamaicans are considered squatters, while a large proportion of Afro-Jamaican descendants remain without legal land title. And then he talked about landlessness, presented as historical, not simple individual failure. He said he's rejecting the idea that African Jamaicans, landlessness among African Jamaicans can be explained simply by poverty, lawlessness, or individual responsibility. And he traces the problem to colonial plantation system, where control of land was closely connected to control of labor. After emancipation, and he went there too, restricting access to land helped preserve a cheap and dependable plantation workforce. He goes from 1655 to 1833 and looked at the plantation land system, the British conquest in 1655, and how large areas of land were distributed and consolidated into the plantation economy. He talked about how enslaved Africans were excluded from property ownership because they were themselves legally treated as property. And he talks about the post-emancipation land system coming out of all of that. It's a very, very good read. I don't know where it's available, Damien. Maybe if we go back at the top, we'll see. But anyway, he looks also at emancipation without land. He looks at full emancipation and the free village movement, a little bit of that. And obviously looking at the Vagrancy Act 2 and the maintenance of plantation labor. 1865, you know, the Morant Bay War, and we've been talking about that, 1865. This Morant Bay War was a war over the very same conditions that we're facing right now. So good work. We're going to come back to the Morant Bay War because we've been talking about the Morant Bay Museum in this space, and we hear the Prime Minister responding to the questions that we've been asking, and he's answered some, at least one, the tourismification of Morant Bay and the Morant Bay Museum, and he has said that it is not specifically for tourism, but to underscore emancipation and the Morant Bay War, and he talks about moving it from rebellion to war. So he's getting some good advice. Also, so it's an excellent article by Damian Crawford. Really, really good read. Please try and get that. We have it up on the screen. Going down to the Registration of Titles Act, independence on the unresolved land question. What change, he said? He said independence did not automatically redistribute land or remove inherited colonial laws, but what changed was who possessed the power to administer and change them. And the fundamental political question, of course, are the people at Cooper's Pen legal owners? And he's shifting that question, moving his argument away from that and into a broader perspective, which is to say, why almost 2 centuries after emancipation does such a large proportion of Jamaica's population remain without secure legal land title? So good work, Damien. It's really a brilliant article, my sister Imani Tafari Amar is also writing in the papers today, I think. I haven't had a chance to go through this properly yet, but if you get a copy of today's paper, you can go through Imani's, I'm trying to find, okay, Imani's, The Story of Cooper's Pen Saga is the title, and she's writing in the Gleaner, in today's Gleaner, Imani Tafari Amar. I can probably take a little look at this. Let me just choose this. All right, so she says, let me just go anywhere. Unlike naturally endowed families who have been able to acquire property and pass it down through successive generations, the families who settled in Cooper's Pen did not have equal access to land. That is why they were called squatters, a term that is not merely descriptive, but value-laden. It can turn a complex history of poverty, landlessness, and exclusion into a simple story of individual wrongdoing. And she says, this is Imani. She says, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has used precisely this language when he reprimanded the citizens whose homes were demolished by bulldozers, while some were reportedly still sleeping at 3:30 a.m., while promising future solutions. He drew a sharp moral line between those deemed legitimate property owners and those described as squatters. The Prime Minister talking about, I'm not sure what he was talking about, but he mentioned something about history repeating itself. And when you do not know your history, you're bound to repeat the mistakes. This is a point, Prime Minister. Really and truly, this is a point. My brother Yannick Pessoa, and I'm sending it to you now, Peter, has also written an article. Yannick, where did you write this for? Jamaica's Land Scandal, From Emancipation to the Bulldozer, is the title of that article written by my brother Yannick Pessoa. So we just got this. We haven't had a time to go through it yet, but we'll definitely read. This is 3 minutes to Cashpot. And I really wanted to go to I'm going to have to go to the Prime Minister Facebook page. And let me see. Right. I have to do this live on air. Because the Prime Minister is talking about, He's talking, he mentioned Morant Bay, right? And Prime Minister, why do you have to flood your page with so many things? It's just yesterday you posted and all of a sudden I can't even find it. See there? 28 minutes. The Prime Minister is very busy on social media. About 7, like he deliberately do this for lock way out. Anyway, right, so, oh goodness, I must say the government is intent. He says the government is committed to building a national museum in Morant Bay that tells the story of Jamaica's post-emancipation journey and the people who helped shape our country. Morant Bay, he says, holds an important place in our history, and this museum that we've been talking about, he says, will help bring the story to life through stories, artifacts, and interactive exhibits. He says, this is not just for tourists, it is for Jamaicans. I want every child to have the opportunity to visit, learn where we came from, and understand the journey that has brought us here. We're also developing plans, he says, for museum in Port Royal, St. James, and the National Sports Museum. Our history belongs to us. We agree with that. The question still remains, though, Prime Minister, and kudos to you that you've answered this tourismification question. But the question still remains, the architectural firms that have been chosen to build this museum, there are questions around that. The tender process, the whole chasification of it, the procurement, the bids for tender, the announcement for tender, all of that. There are many questions to be answered regarding Morant Bay that are still unanswered. And as I said before, we are not making any allegations against anyone. We're saying that there are some unanswered questions that we still need answered. Now to Cooper's Pen again. This is a human rights violation. It's a stain on the conscience of Jamaica, and it must be dealt with urgently. The mistakes that have been made cannot necessarily be corrected. But moving from here, immediate attention must be given to the people who have been displaced. They should not be demonstrating across Jamaica. And we have those videos of the demonstrations, but we'll take them in a little while. Let me go to the cash pot. Listen up, top drawer dollars, pick 2, pick 3, pick 4, and the cash pot.
Begin.
Good morning. It's Sunday, August 23, 2026. I'm Christina, and welcome to the Supreme Ventures Early Bird Live Game Draw. Now, before we begin, here's a quick look at last night's winning numbers. All live draws are supervised by the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission and observed by the independent auditing firm PwC. Now, let's put some money in your top draw. This morning's jackpot starts at $200,000. So, here now are your winning top draw numbers. And here we go. First down for top draw for your early bird game is the number 5. Following 5, we have a solid number 10. Coming up and down the line now, so through winning top draw number is lucky number 7. And right behind 7, we have the number 11. Now for that $200,000, you're gonna need lucky number 13. And now, let's pick your play with our dollars game. I hope you're feeling lucky because the winning dollars numbers are coming right at you. Now, first down for your early bird dollars game this morning, we have lucky number 7. Following that 7 is solid number 10. Making its way down now slowly but surely is the number 3. And following 3, we have ball number 14. Now here comes the number 27. And I do hope you're getting these numbers right, because now bringing us halfway there in our early bird dollars game is the number 23. Following 23, we have the number 15, as well as the number 25. Now, how are those spots looking so far? Because the number 31 is next. And guess what? Solid number 30 follows, as well as the number 18. Now, we're going to wrap our early bird dollars game this morning with the number 21. So now for some easy winnings. Third pick 2 game. Get those tickets out and let's play. Now your first winning pick 2 number for your Early Bird game. Here it comes. That's the number 32. Your second winning pick 2 number is the number 6. So again, your winning pick 2 numbers are 32 and 6. Up next, you can play it all of 3 ways. It's of course our pick 3 games. Here we go. Now, your first winning pick 3 number for your Early Bird game. That's the number 9. Your second winning pick 3 number is the number 6. And your third and final winning pick 3 number, what would it be? It's also the number 6. So again, your winning pick 3 numbers are 9, 6, and 6. Now let's tune up your winnings with pick 4. And the balls are bubbling up for us this morning. What's it gonna be? Your first winning pick 4 number is lucky number 7. Your second winning pick 4 number, that's 0. Your third winning pick 4 number for your Early Bird game, it's the number 6, and your final winning pick number, what would it be? It's 0. So again, your winning pick 4 numbers are 7, 0, 6, and 0. Now this one, it is for winner. Let's heat things up with hot pick. And here we go. Your Early Bird winning hot pick number is lucky number 13. So congratulations to all hot pick winners. Again, the winning number is 13. Now we know you live to play it, but can you win it? Get ready to be a big cash pot winner. Let's see what your Early Bird winning cash pot number will be. And the Early Bird winning cash pot number coming your way is the number 5. And the lucky mark is Thief. So now, let's make your winnings and good luck. And it is the mega ball that has been selected. Now it's time for the big one. It's time for the monster winnings. So keep those tickets out. And here we go. Round and round they go for us this morning. What's it going to be? And it is the white ball that has been selected. Now let's take a look at the Early Bird winning numbers. Congratulations to everyone who won. Join me again here at 10:30 a.m. for more games you love to play. I'm Christina. Have a supreme morning.
Hope you were a big winner. Play your favorite Supreme Ventures games every day and tune in for our live draw 6 times a day at 8:30 a.m., 10:30 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 p.m., 5 p.m., and 8:25 p.m. on this station. Supreme Ventures, making winners every day.
All right, that was the Early Bird Top Draw Dollars, pick 2, pick 3, pick 4, hot pick, and cash pot draws. Congratulations to all of today's winners. Join us again at 10:30 a.m. for another chance to win in Top Draw Dollars, pick 2, pick 3, pick 4, hot pick, and cash pot draws.
When I need to order concrete for my big or small jobs, I order only solid concrete. Yes, solid concrete mix for my money. The time by Solid Concrete Mix is
now 8:35.
Yeah, man, what a going on. I wonder how some people can afford to have back up in their backyard, house shop, and bar. Make could do the maths. Every back put $30 in your pocket. So you know how much money I have thrown down we could have helped your ear buy food and pay a bill. Bring them back. Exchange empty Red Stripe, Heineken, Malta Dragon, and Guinness bottles for cash and get your money, honey. A red cycling project by Red Stripe. Must be 18 years and older. Drink responsibly, live responsibly.
Hungry for that real Jamaican food, but nowhere to go? Look no further. Falmouth Chicken is simply the best, with a wide range of scrumptious, mouth-watering chicken combo meals. Barbecue, original, or spicy. Why not try their wings combo special? Spicy, barbecue, original, or mango chili. Their burgers have satisfaction in every bite, morning, noon, or night. What are you waiting for? Located at 15 Duke Street, Falmouth, Thrifty Gas, Barnett Street, and City Center Plaza, Montego Bay. Falmouth Chicken, simply the best.
Midas Entertainment and Eight Rivers Lounge present Sophisticated, the Summers and Beach Party featuring Vanessa Bling. Music by Triple X, Illusion Sound, and Bishop Escobar on August 29 at Plantation Cove. Gates open at 4 p.m. Mixed drinks inclusive until 7. So get your tickets now at select Fesco locations: The Trends, Zion Barbican, Greenhouse Taj Mahal, and Eight River Ultra Lounge, or online at aitix.app. Sophisticated is where the summer ends. It's a Dream Weekend endorsed event.
Advanced Service Station, Island Vibes Food Court, and Jacon Foods, in association with Help Jamaica Medical Mission, present the annual St. Thomas Health Fair on Saturday, September 5 at the Yalis Primary School from 9 a.m. until everything free. Eye exams, blood pressure checks, blood sugar tests, school medicals, and general checkup with more doctors and nurses to serve you better. Fun activities and refreshments all day. See you on Saturday, September 5 at the Yalis Primary School for the annual St. Thomas Health Fair.
All right, we're back with you inside of the Africa Forum. This is Running Africa. And I want to say something quickly, like Bedward. I know that there's a lot of talk now about SOFA, right? Status of Force Agreement. And Jamaica is in a panic over this agreement that has been signed, the SOFA agreement. There's like, madness on the island. But here is the situation. SOFA is the least of your concern. First of all, we do not know what was signed. The United States State Department and the Jamaican government have both released press releases saying that they have signed Status of Force Agreement so far. Last week, they signed this on Monday, they said, but last week, Sunday, we told you that when you hear the word SOFA, then they've moved into operational mode, okay? But SOFA is not the end-all and the be-all of it here. It's connected to something. So you have to go back to March in Doral, Florida, to the Shield of the Americas. That is a big boy. Then within that, the AC3, which is a coalition, right? That is also there. Now, SOFA should tell you how this whole thing is going to work. But the bottom line is, we do not know because neither the U.S. government nor the Jamaican government have released the text of what they have signed. So all there is speculation. So one person is saying there's going to be boot on the ground. Another person is saying that there's going to be, they're going to have powers to arrest. What we can do, though, but nobody knows this. All right, what we can do is that we can look at other SOFA agreements with other Caribbean countries and see what that entailed. And it entailed all of that and then some, and even more. It can get really bad. But we have not seen the text. And until we have seen the text, we must demand from the government of Jamaica the text of the SOFA agreement. The press release is toilet paper. That's basically what it is. It means nothing, says nothing, and it's nothing. We need to see the text of the agreement. That's number one. Number two is because the SOFA agreement tells you that things are now operationalized. Okay, we're into the new world order. This is no panic time, This is what are we going to do about securing ourselves. So that's the first thing. The other thing is, there's an agreement that is being, there's some, the United States Congress and the upper house and the lower house have been backing and forthing on a document that would give Israel, the Israeli army, that would make the Israeli army and the U.S. army one from a technology sharing perspective and many other perspectives. Many other perspectives. We've never seen anything like it in terms of what is about to happen between the U.S. Army and the Israeli army. So you have to put that in the whole process because that has already passed most of the places that it needs to pass in the United States, and I'm talking so all of we can understand, so that more or less the Israeli army is operating and the U.S. army are operating as one army on many different fronts. Now, if the Israeli army and the U.S. army are operating as one army, then any operational interoperable situation is going to include the Israeli army. But we do not know how. That's the thing. We have not seen anything, and we're not making no big leap, It is one system. It is a beast system that is taking over the Caribbean But I want to make you understand something else. It's not just the Caribbean that this is happening. This is also happening in Africa. The exact same thing that we're talking about here in the Caribbean and Jamaica is happening on the continent of Africa. That's why Ghana was here. I can go into that some more later on. And you, all right, let me take a quick break.
Get more miles with the Ruby's Ultratech. Fuel the difference for peak performance and maximum savings. Drive more and save more. The time by Ruby's Ultratech is
8:42. So stop it with sofa. Stop it with sofa. You do not know anything about sofa. This is not a settee. This is not a chair. This is an agreement that has been signed, a security agreement that has serious ramification, and we must stop the excitement and demand the text of sofa. And the press release that was sent out by the United States State Department, dash away. The press release that was sent out by the Jamaica government, dash away. All we want is the text of the agreement. Nothing else matters. My next very special guest online is not here to talk about sofa or settee or chair or anything of that sort. He is a world-renowned architect, a registered architect with over 36 years of experience in Jamaica, Guyana, and the United States. He has played a leading role in shaping some of Jamaica's most significant development projects. As former chief architect at the Urban Development Corporation, he spearheaded major initiatives, including the redevelopment of downtown Kingston, the Montego Bay Redevelopment Plan, Harmony Beach Park, and National Heroes Park. He's also the award-winning designer of a Simon Boulevard Cultural Center and has been instrumental in conceptualizing plans for a National Reggae Museum and a National Sports Museum. It's interesting because we just heard the Prime Minister mention the National Sports Museum a while ago. So we'll ask my guest if it's this design. He's a strong community advocate. He has served in several leadership roles, including chairman of the Heroes Circle Government Campus Development Committee and a member of the UNESCO Kingston Creative Music Committee. He's no stranger to the program, my brother Kamau Kamboy. Kamau, my brother, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on the program this morning.
Good morning, Kabu. Good morning, audience.
Good to have you. I'm really honored every time you step into this space. You are one of the greats among us. So I'm really, really happy to have you in this space. Come on, I want to start because we're going to talk about build fast, but who is accountable. We're talking about, because you've written a really insightful article about speed and what the outcomes and the consequences of that can be, and also if you delay, what the outcome and the consequences of that can be regarding development, especially after a disaster. So you've been looking at this very closely. I also want to pick your brain a little bit about how NaRRA fits into all of this. But before I do that, I want to start at your work, because we just read some of them. The National Sports Museum is an idea. Your conceptualized plans for that. I want to start right there because we just heard, even though I didn't play the clip, I read from the Prime Minister who just said that so Morant Bay Museum is going to be developed and that is already in train. And then there's going to be a National Music Museum and a National Sports Museum. But you have also conceptualized plans for these two things, a reggae museum and a sports museum. So are your plans what we're going to be looking at?
Well, I don't know, but this is not a new idea. It actually stems from previous administrations, so this is nothing new. I was asked to look at a location across from the National Stadium, around the area of the Bob Marley statue. And we also engaged the students of the University of Technology to actually do research. So we involved those students and they actually came up with proposals and concepts. Mm-hmm. So nothing has really been finalized. Those are just exploratory concepts.
Mm-hmm. We started talking many years ago about your work and specifically the work that you've done overseas, because you were in the middle of entering this global competition to design Africa Town or parts of Africa Town. Can you remind our listeners what that was and about that so they know exactly who we have here? You were just here 3 weeks ago also, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, Africa Town exists in Alabama, and it is the location where the descendants of those who were kidnapped from Africa in 1860 and taken to America illegally after the slave trade was abolished. And so Africa Town is a location where they actually developed their community. So there was a competition, an international competition arranged for persons to submit design ideas. And it was a very extensive competition. And when we heard about it, we only had about 2 months to develop a concept. So we got a team of 3 other Jamaicans, females, and we entered. And we selected a particular one of the sites.
Mm-hmm.
And so we gained 3rd place.
Well, it was brilliant. I was very happy to be part of the process of the journey with you, just going through different weeks and so on, and to the end. This is an ongoing thing, though, with Africa Town. We spoke about it the last time you were here, and we'll also revisit that. In terms of your work on the island in Jamaica, a lot of our listeners probably do not realize this, that you've done so much in the spaces that we're occupying here in Jamaica, architectural work, architectural design, and so national spaces I'm talking about. Talk us through some of the work that you've done on the island, and we're going to be showing some of them while you talk.
Well, the most popular one is Emancipation Park, and that was a national competition, and we were successful. I was successful in winning that competition.
So you designed the Emancipation Park?
Yes, and what is interesting about that particular project, we only had 3 months to actually build that project.
But you didn't have anything to do with the naked people?
No.
Oh, okay.
There was another sculpture there before, but subsequently that one was placed there.
All right. So when you go into the Emancipation Park now, we should remember that this is the work of our brother Kamau. Wow, brilliant. Okay, so that's Emancipation Park. Tell us about the others, because there are others.
Yes, well, you have National Heroes Park, and I was asked to contribute to that redevelopment plan by Prime Minister Portia Simpson because of our involvement in delivering Emancipation Park.
Mm-hmm.
And so we actually, there have been over the years several proposals were developed for National Heroes Park. And so I was able to look at all of those and then integrate the concepts into a redevelopment plan, which we started, implemented phase 1A, because at the time there was no money to build out the entire development. So we started with a phased exercise of doing the perimeter fencing and gateway.
Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of this is coincidental, you know, because you've been on this program from time to time, and we talk about so many different things. But we had already confirmed this discussion when I think it was just a few days ago we heard the Prime Minister referring to the work that is about to happen on Heroes Park. So is that the very same design, or is it a whole new thing?
Well, apparently there is a new design because a competition was held, and a design competition for the Houses of Parliament. But previously, the development was for the National Heroes Park, and in doing the research for that park, we found out that there was a Georgia 6 Memorial Park Act, and it stated that the future Parliament is to be built in the National Heroes Park, and they stated specifically 11 acres out of the 50 acres were to be earmarked for the new Parliament.
And because George V says so, where to go with it?
No, it's not George V. Actually,
Oh.
it was Norman Manley. The original name was Racecourse, but Norman Manley passed the act to make it into a park, George
Okay.
VI Memorial Park. At the time,
Oh, it was called George's. Oh, I see.
that's
what
why it's
you
called
did.
George VI. It was George VI Memorial Park before, and then
Okay.
I believe it was Mr. Siaga was the one who actually named it, made it National Heroes Park.
Okay.
Right. But basically, it was to the idea. They had the foresight to place the new parliament in National Heroes Park. Incidentally, previous government, there was always this argument about where to build the new parliament. And it was only when we did our research, we discovered that there was indeed an act where it stated specifically that the future parliament was to be in National Heroes Park. And that ended the argument.
Well, there you go. Well, did you hear the Prime Minister's announcement? Because he said something. It's on his
Yes,
Facebook.
I did.
But what do you think about it?
Well, I have presented to the Prime Minister the proposal that we developed, and we zoned the park, and our design, our research indicated that the best location is for the Parliament to be in the northern section of Heroes Park, based on hierarchy, and we didn't want to clash with the memorial for the heroes. Also, there is a zone for prime ministers, governors general, and several of them are buried there. So we wanted to separate that zone and to give that zone its special feel. However, I think the competition, they selected the middle of the park to place the parliament.
So what was your reasoning, you and your team, what was the reasoning? And if you don't want to answer, you can tell me that you don't want to answer it. But you're here, so I'm asking you. But what was your reasoning for thinking that the north side was the best side and not necessarily where it is now, where it is going to be now?
Well, first of all, the north side is actually the highest elevation. And we wanted to give the parliament that pride of place.
Okay.
Secondly, we wanted to zone it so that the affairs of the parliament could be sectionalized, so it wouldn't interfere in the use of the park by the general public. When you place it in the middle, you basically disrupt the use of the park for the general public.
Okay, so
Right? And also there are a lot of services, essential infrastructure that run underneath National Heroes Park. I'm not sure if people are aware of it or those in charge now are aware of it. But
underneath, like in the middle where the parliament is going to be?
Running straight through the middle, major infrastructure supply.
Like what?
Major water lines, NWC water lines that service the west of Kingston.
Oh, those lines from Moscow Road.
Yes, we actually, when we were doing the fencing, I actually discovered it before.
Yeah.
And so when we were doing the fencing, we carefully excavated by hand and we identified one of the pipes and we were able to bridge over that pipeline.
I know something about that because in my early training, just leaving sixth form at high school under Alva Ross was a member of parliament for St. Mary at the time. And, you know, my father did carry me to Alva Ross to get a job because that's how I used to go. If you don't know a politician, they can't get a job. And Alva Ross was friend of the family. And so Alva Ross, I was come to Gordon House. I went to Gordon House. I met him. I mean, that time Gordon House was a different place. It wasn't a synagogue of Satan. And he placed me for training at Murska Road. So I kind of know a bit about Murska Road and the Heroes Park and that whole thing there, and how and that connection. So are you sure those pipes are still there? Those underground pipes are still there? They're massive pipes.
Yes, they supply the western side of the city.
So how is this likely? I know that I'm taking this whole thing out of context. I know this you're comfortable about, but I mean, we can't let it go. How is the building of the parliament in the middle there, as opposed to the north end, likely to impact those massive water mains in the middle there of Heroes Park?
Well, from what I've seen of the design proposals, several levels below ground. And so once you go, even just regular foundation will impact those pipes. So there'll have to be some effort made to reroute those pipes over to the west. And I'm saying this because it's the people of Jamaica who will be impacted. So the authorities need, it's not a secret, NWC has the layout for those pipes, and that's where I got the information. So they need to look at those.
So that's a lot more money, isn't it, to relocate?
It will be. It will be. And then if you don't, this is why planning is important.
So have they reached out to you, considering that you were on this project before? Have you?
No.
Are you going to be working on it at all?
No.
Why not?
I have not been invited.
Let us move on to why you came. Look here, it's plenty of things we're not invited to, but we'll put ourselves right in the middle of there. But you have made some very serious points here, though, and I know they're listening. So I hope this reaches where it should reach in terms of the likelihood of what is about to happen. The people probably may have to ask a question. But come on, my brother, you have been writing, and I'm saying really insightful and critical thinking, looking at, you've titled this, Procrastination is a Thief of Time, and you're talking about unbridled speed and how this can be unsafe and costly in architecture. The central argument that you look at is that the assumption that faster infrastructure delivery is automatically better is not necessarily true. You're saying that procrastination is a thief of time, but unbridled speed can be unsafe and costly. And I want you to kind of break that down for us, because we're in a moment now, and I've read your article very closely. We're in a moment now where, for example, we have NaRRA, and the discussion around NaRRA is speed. After a hurricane, after a disaster, it is speed. And people have bought into that, but you're saying this is not necessarily the right way to go. Break that down for us, please. What do you mean?
Well, speed in construction is possible, but it cannot be done in isolation. It has to be done with a team of experienced individuals, architects, engineers, planners, you name it. And you need to rely on the resources that exist in Jamaica, or Jamaicans who can contribute to help solve the problem. It's not pulling something out of the air, but use the resources that exist. And I think the Jamaican professional body should be brought in to actually help in that situation.
NaRRA, and some of the, and let me just go through, because some of the stuff you've looked at Jamaica's historical experience with hurricanes, right? So, yes. and I think this is important to lay the foundation for that. Let me take a quick break and we'll come back right there.
Join the National Cleanup and Volunteer Drive. Let's restore our communities one street, one home, one heart at a time. Sign up at supportjamaica.gov.jm. The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is
9 o'clock. You're inside of the Africa Forum. This is Running Africa, and thank you so much for joining us inside of the forum this morning. My very special guest online is... I laughed because a listener just wrote, "Lord of mercy, we love you." And it just came up on the screen. Anyway, we have a very special guest online, registered architect with over 35 years of experience in Jamaica, Guyana, and the United States, Kamau Kambui, and a global figure. You talk about, Kamau, Jamaica's historical experience with hurricanes, and you've pointed out the different hurricanes, looking at the different categories, and kind of just taking us through that. What can we learn from these? And you've laid that out in the article also. But what can we learn from these within the context of this discussion on whether the price of delay and the danger of speed?
Okay, what I did was not to just put raw emotions in the analysis. I used data. And we looked at development projects over the years from 1962. But prior to that, we listed all of the disasters that hit Jamaica. In 1951, there was I think Hurricane, I think it's Charlie, that impacted Jamaica with a lot of rain. And the then Parliament voted to implement the stormwater drainage system for Kingston. And the engineers had actually recommended a solution, a stormwater system. And this is how you got the Sandy Gully stormwater system. It took many years to build. And as a matter of fact, there was a hurricane that came in and destroyed all of the infrastructure that was put in. But anyway, they continued, and it was completed in the 1970s, early 1970s, right? So looking at that and how technical input impacted on solutions, we also looked at the deliverables over the years since 1962 in terms of major infrastructure projects. And what was discovered is that the projects were delivered on time, reasonable time. If you look on the list, you see that I indicated how long it took for the National Stadium to be built, right? Just in time for independence, 1962. I think it took 18 months. And there are lots of projects that generally are built within a certain time. What the data shows us is that after 2016, projects are ongoing 7-10 years and still incomplete, right? It is not my opinion, it is what I'm seeing in the data, right? So something has happened since 2016 to cause these projects to be delayed.
Do you have any
something that cannot be managed, but something has changed that has caused this, these delays.
Have you and what's your thinking on what could be done? Could be the reason.
Well, previously there was always consultation with the technical assets in the country to manage a system. I use Emancipation Park as an example. A lot of people don't realize that project was built in 3 months. There was no special agency set up to have it built. It was consultation with all the professionals. And we know what needed to be done. And also the agencies facilitated us, right? Because if you don't have the money, and if you're not managing the money to do the implementation, and if you don't have control, then you run into trouble. But it can be done, all right? But Emancipation Park, as I said, was built in 3 months. I mean, people don't understand it. Look at parks that are being built now. They're taking 2-3 years, right? And they have the benefit of what we developed. The bathroom systems that are being used in Harmony Beach Park and in the one that they're building in Portmore. It was actually developed for National Heroes Park, the prototype. Because what I did was after Emancipation Park, I looked at critically of what we did at Emancipation Park and decided to develop a bathroom facility that was safe, and now it's being used all over. But the thing is that if you utilize the services of engineers, all the scientists, the architects, you can get things done, but you have to have accountability in there. You cannot leave it uncontrolled.
What does accountability look like, and to what extent? I know I'm asking two questions here. What does accountability look like, and to what extent are the technical people being left out of development and redevelopment in Jamaica?
Traditionally, the building industry, architects and engineers were post-contract administrators. We actually manage the contracts during the phase of construction. And it's like a referee in a football match. We actually monitor and make sure everything is being followed. All the instructions are being, the quality. And so we keep tabs of the schedule. We know when you're running behind, when the contractor is running behind schedule. We know we can recognize if there's a cash flow situation. If the engineer or the architect knows how to manage a project. And what I'm really saying is that utilize the services of Jamaican technical professionals and scientists in guiding the process. It's not about just getting something done because you say you want it done quickly. You have to implement certain things.
And so you're saying that the agencies, because one of the things you write about in the article is the Office of National Reconstruction, which you said following Hurricane Ivan, Prime Minister P.J. Patterson established the Office of National Reconstruction on September 13, 2024. And this was a temporary specialized government unit responsible for coordinating national relief, recovery, and rebuilding. You talk about the mandate emphasizing speed, recovery, rebuilding, and accountability. And then there's a contrast with NaRRA. So how does that contrast with NaRRA? And your own thinking about what's the purpose of NaRRA? Last week I threw my hands up in the air. I said I do not know what NaRRA is.
In my opinion, NaRRA is just another bureaucratic layer in the process of development. And you really don't need to add another layer. What you need to do is utilize the existing technical process, the existing agencies, and they can manage the process. So, for example, NaRRA can overrule the agencies, and these are the regulatory agencies. How can you do that? In my opinion, the best solution is to include the representatives from the agencies on the NaRRA board, so that they can be aware of what you're doing.
So
right?
What is the configuration of a NaRRA board then?
Well, I'm not sure if there's a NaRRA board, but based on reading the NaRRA Act, what NaRRA does is that if the agencies, the regulatory agencies, are not moving fast enough, it means that they can step in and actually bring in outside input to overrule what the authorities have said. Now, to me, that's a humiliating exercise. If you have an agency that regulates things in Jamaica, how can you threaten them with bringing in outside expertise to tell them what to do? What you should do is incorporate them in your process. Right? You sit on their board, or they sit on the NaRRA board, so they can add real value to it. But to add another layer to say that you're going to control the situation and step in when necessary, and then there's an indemnification clause where they can do things and they won't be held responsible if they waste money. Who's going to regulate that?
You've said that NaRRA is just another cog or node in the bureaucracy. But what you've outlined just now, it tells us much more than that, though. This is not just another node. This is the preeminent, the ultimate authority for all of this, building, construction, everything being pulled together. It's an umbrella.
I believe I heard somewhere where they're even including the future Parliament building in NaRRA. I'm not sure how true that is.
No,
but why an agency that was set up for speedy recovery for Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth? Why add things? You should be focusing on what is important.
But what are the powers? What are the powers of NaRRA? Do you know?
Well, it doesn't have any limitation. You could add, the cabinet can add any project, recommend any project to NaRRA.
Do you know a man from just before World War II whose surname is Steer, S-T-E-E-R? Do you recognize that name? I think it's Alistair Steer. I can't remember his first name.
Doesn't ring a bell, but that seemed to be some reconstruction during German. That's in Germany?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm asking that because does NaRRA, it's interesting with NaRRA, because if NaRRA has these wide sweeping powers at this time that includes almost everything, we don't even know what it is. I don't think you know what it is. Does it look as a builder, as a constructor, as an architect, as somebody who's been in this business for so long? Right? Because this is what NaRRA started out to be, right? That you could identify with it as, or could you identify with the discussions around it
Well, if you wanted a body to monitor the reconstruction, you can. But when you make that body have powers to interfere in a process that is natural to engineers and architects and planners, it creates more problems. Right? For example, let me just say this. There was an announcement made in 2019 by the Prime Minister about the development. It was done in Parliament, the announcement, that there's a plan to develop stormwater systems for various towns. And I believe Santa Cruz was mentioned, Maypen, and I believe Port Maria, right? And at the time, this is 2019, it was announced that in 6 months, they would develop the stormwater plan, and it would have gone out to tender. Now, Beryl came, messed up the island, minor, but subsequently Melissa impacted Santa Cruz, destroyed the streets, the road infrastructure because of improper drainage. Where is that stormwater development plan that should have been implemented? So announcements are made, but they're not implemented, or they're just made for whatever reason. But that one in particular strikes me. Why do you announce something in Parliament in 2019 and we're in 2026 now? Where is that stormwater system? The same way that the Sandy Gully stormwater system was developed to save Kingston, to protect Kingston. Where is it? It could have helped Santa Cruz.
Right. So we can't answer the question, right? It is not, for God took it. I said Speer, but it's Albert Speer. Albert Speer. And Albert Speer was the head of a special German Nazi Hitler government body. It was headed by Albert Speer. And what we are hearing and understanding about NaRRA, the closest thing to NaRRA that we can find in history is coming from Nazi Germany during the time of Hitler, just before the World War. And this is not a conspiracy theory. This is not even emotional, as you said. There's no emotion here. This is when you look for things in history that closely resemble what NaRRA has been described to be, that this is it. So what is the danger of speed here and procrastination being the thief of time? Because there's a price to delay.
Well, I use procrastination. The example for procrastination is that Santa Cruz stormwater system. So that is something that was announced and was not implemented. So somebody procrastinated, right? And procrastination can cost money. The Prime Minister has said that they could have built there was some bridge that could have been built 7 years ago. It wasn't, and it costs more now. So procrastination costs money in terms of delay, right? Also, speed, as I said, speed can be done, but you have to have it controlled. It cannot be just wanton speed, because if you move too quickly, you will overlook things. And when you overlook things, there's scope creep. As you can see in a lot of these projects, scope creep is causing major increase in budget. Things that started off at 10 billion are now 40, 50 billion. And when it makes you wonder, did anybody put any thought into these projects before they were implemented? Because you have to think through things, create a plan, and implement based on that plan. You can't start building and then find that 2 years down the road, it costs more money to do something.
Kind of a Noah's Ark. Hold on there, let me just take a quick break.
Visit our brand new website, VoltLinkJA.com today and discover Jamaica's best electrical cables. VoltLink, wired to serve, built to last. The time by VoltLink is
16 after 9.
Donovan, me say pressure and sugar kill so many people in our good Jamaica.
June, that's why I say you have to take charge of your health. You need to check your pressure and your sugar regularly.
And don't miss a doctor or clinic appointment.
Cut out the junk food and stick to healthy foods.
Do at least 30 minutes of exercise a day time.
And make sure you take your meds at the right time, every time. For more information, visit ncdip.moh.gov.jm. Take charge of your health.
Domino lovers, are you ready to play for big cash? The Lincoln Caribbean Club Partnership Domino Tournament is coming your way. Friday, September 4, 10 a.m. to midnight. Tommy's Jerk Center, across from Boscobel Beaches Hotel St. Mary. Entry fee, $12,000 in advance, $15,000 at the door. Third place winner, $150,000. Second place, $200,000. First place, $250,000. Call 876-446-6504. Support the team and no cheating.
This and every Sunday, the golden oldies, best of the 60s, 70s, and 80s at Sweet Lips Bar, Cotton Piece, Yuatan. Music by High Tension with guest DJs. Sunday, August 30, DJ Pops Movements and Michael Thompson. Hits from the 60s, 70s, and 80s from 12 noon to 12 midnight. Refreshment on sale. This and every Sunday, Sweet Lips Bar, Cotton Piece, Yuatan. Your favorite month-end sale is backed by popular demand. Beaver Island Hardware, your friendly neighborhood hardware, reminds you of their month-end sale where you get massive discounts on tiles, doors, toilets, basins, and much more. August 23 to August 30. Visit us, Beaver Island Hardware, Bellevue Heights, opposite Dovecot. Remember, sale ends August 30. We accept all major debit and credit cards. Note, the store will be closed Sunday, September 13. Beaver Island Hardware, eager to serve you.
Jamaica, need top quality electrical wire? Eco Caribbean Wire is your answer. Imported from Turkey, we deliver premium wire at unbeatable prices. Residential wire from 1.5 to 35 mm. Heavy duty power cables from 50 to 240 mm. We've got it all. Visit Eco Caribbean Wire at 62 Hope Road, Kingston 6. 876-853-5971 or 876-618-0069. We deliver island-wide. Eco Caribbean Wire, connecting the future.
All right, we're back with you inside of the Africa Forum. This is Running African at 19 minutes after 9 o'clock. My very special guest online and in studio in the green room on Zoom is our brother Kamau Kamboy, a registered architect with over 36 years of experience in Jamaica, Guyana, and the United States. Played a leading role in shaping some of Jamaica's most significant development projects, and we have spoken about some of them here, including Emancipation Park and Harmony Beach Park. Kamau, you talked about when you mentioned the procrastination being the thief of time and what has happened in St. Elizabeth and so on. So NaRRA then is responding to something, right? And from your own professional perspective, what does that something look like to you? Because you talk about bureaucracy, and we're getting the idea that within the system is bureaucratic fragmentation. So that if that exists, then how do you fix that?
Well, that's a good question. The NaRRA was supposed to be a response to the situation in Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth, Western Jamaica in general. Have you seen any evidence of NaRRA being effective in implementing anything? You probably can answer that question.
I cannot. I said, remember, and I'm confessing, I don't know what NaRRA is. To me, NaRRA looks like the GBI out of Nazi Germany.
It seems to be a long-term, something long-term before it really gets started. But if NaRRA was set up to respond to recovery and reconstruction in the western half of Jamaica, then it ought to look at what is critical. I mean, I haven't heard of any team of scientists or engineers going around and assessing what happened.
Oh, you haven't gone Peru?
I would love to know.
Oh, you didn't go to Peru? The head of NaRRA, Jamaica's Albert Speer, has been to Peru. That's NaRRA, going to look at how disasters are dealt with. And I think right after he left, there was a terrible disaster. I don't know if you saw that in Peru, that it took the government 5 to 7 days before they acted, many died.
Well, I looked at the Peru situation in terms of what they did to use to start their recovery or do their recovery, and I think that's on the basis in which representatives from Jamaica went to visit Peru. But Jamaica has an established system based on the recommendation. When you look at the recommendation from the British consultants who went to Peru, they talked about what they implemented or what they helped the Peruvian people to do. All of that exists in Jamaica.
Yes.
So why are we going to Peru to look at something that that Jamaica already has the capacity? That's why I suggested that consultation should be had, meaningful consultation should be had with the technical experts in Jamaica, and you could find the answer.
So that during the debate and all of that, a lot of what was said from the government side who was pushing NaRRA was that the existing government agencies were too fragmented, too slow, and NaRRA would change that. But I hear you raising the question of, since then, when was NaRRA initiated or inaugurated into being?
I think June, sometime early June of this year.
Right. June, July, August. Have you seen anything? Well, you asked me that question, I'm throwing it back at you. What's happened in terms of reconstruction and so on in St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland, which were the two parishes that were hardest hit by Hurricane Melissa? Because it came on the back of that, although it came out of the DRMA. Because if you give government a little bit of power, they're going to need more. And they just changed the name of the DRMA to NaRRA. And give it more powers, of course.
Well, the first part of the article speaks about the design process. When architects and engineers design, we look at issues, we identify problems, right? Because that's the only way you can find solutions. You can't propose solutions in isolation. So you have to go on the ground, identify what happened here, what impacted the space, and then from that, you make recommendations from the data that you have collected. Now, I haven't heard anything about what happened at Parity, what happened in Westmoreland. We know, yes, there are storm surges along the coastline, and we know that very strong winds impacted these spaces. But it needs to be analyzed, researched, and solutions developed. Why are we going outside to go find something where you have technical people who can do the assessment? For example, in Florida, there was a hurricane, I'm not sure if it was Andrew, that destroyed the coast of Florida.
And please put hurricane before that, Hurricane Andrew.
Hurricane Andrew. And it destroyed houses along the beach. And this one particular guy actually rebuilt. And what did he do? He knew that there were storm surges that impacted the beach dwellings. So he built his house on stilts, on piles, right? And another hurricane passed and it survived. Because what it did, it allowed the storm surge to pass under the house. Now, Parity is a fishing village. People earn their living by fishing. How can you talk about relocating them, right? You need to look at the situation, and these are seafarers, and you look at the situation and suggest ways in which they can build their houses.
But this goes back to what NaRRA is, though. This goes back to what NaRRA really is, don't it? Because it is not...
Well, it should be what it should be, but what it is doing, I don't know.
Well, that's why it looks like the GBI out of Nazi Germany, talking about reconstruction and what it is doing. The gentrification and, the Martha Vineyard plans and Martha's Vineyard plans and the Cuba under Batista thinking that I think this is where NaRRA's thinking is. I could be wrong. I'd like to be proven wrong, but it don't look so far. And that is why Part 3 is a problem, isn't it? Because if it wasn't for that, would you be talking about relocating these people? you want the area for something.
If the research and the analysis leads to relocation, then so be it.
No research and analysis no lead to no relocation.
Well, where's the research? Has the research been done?
Well, that's the question.
Right?
Have you seen the research?
No. And that's why I'm asking. That I would understand if that was done and the conclusion based on location, local, then you can accept that. But a blanket relocation and building a new town, to me, it's not natural. It's not organic.
But in the article, you direct our attention to project management, which you just talk about, administrative responsibility. Of course, you talk about procrastination, scope creep, corruption, regulatory weaknesses, and political interference. All of that is embedded in the article. And I suppose when you look at the situation right now, are you more or less seeing, if not all of that, majority of that within the process that is supposed to be correcting or reconstructing, if you will, rebuilding from a human rights and other perspective?
It doesn't speak to fixing the problem. And let me just be clear. I'm not saying that the existing system didn't have issues, but you don't throw out something and just bring in something else or add another layer to it. You need to look at these things critically and see what works and what doesn't work.
Is there anything that you understand from NaRRA that gives you, or from the response, even if we not call it NaRRA, but from the response that makes you think, objectively, I can see where this is going?
To be honest, when I read the section on stepping order, stepping clause and the indemnification, it didn't make sense to me. It really doesn't make sense.
Explain that, because we don't know what that is.
Well, it doesn't refer to technical competence, competent people being brought into the process. It just speaks to adding a layer from an agency that can overrule the agency head, the NRCA, NEPA. Then again, all of these agencies fall under the portfolio of the Prime Minister.
Where does NaRRA fall?
Under the portfolio of the Prime Minister. And that is another thing. What I looked at is the portfolio of Prime Ministers' previous administration from 1962 to present. And the present administration has more responsibility under the portfolio of the Prime Minister. Now, if we're not getting anything done, and if we were getting it done before, what does that say? That issue was not slow movement. We were getting things done before. But it is now showing that we are unable to get things done. But the past is being blamed. All right? Why is that so?
The most I can do is take a break. So let me take a break and come back while our listeners think about that question.
This time signal is brought to you by Sandals Resorts. Sustainability at the heart of hospitality. The time by Sandals Resorts is
now 9:30.
Path beneficiaries, September is almost here, and we have great news. The Ministry of Labor and Social Security is providing a $5,000 back-to-school grant for children in Path-supported households who are enrolled in primary or secondary school. No need to apply. Payments are included in the August Path payment cycle before school reopens. Path, advancing your family, developing Jamaica. A message from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, providing opportunities, stability, and social protection.
It's back to school time. Get your children ready in style for the new school year at Cans Originals, your one-stop shop for classic brand name shoes for boys and girls. Shop from a fantastic selection of trusted brands, including Clarks, Kickers, Air Force, and more, with stylish and durable shoes for both boys and girls. Visit us today at shop number 5, York Plaza, I-43, or call us at 876-920-7879 or WhatsApp 876-528-7166. Cans Original, your original choice.
From the creators of Money Fridays, we introduce to you another radio first. Grab back.
Stay locked into Irie FM on the 107 this and every Monday in the wake-up call for Grab Bag. And you could win up to $50,000 cash weekly, plus other prizes.
All you have to do is call Irie FM when you hear it's Grab Bag time. Tell the announcer which bag to dip into, and what comes up is yours, just like that.
It could be a gift from a sponsor. It could be $10,000. It could be $30,000. It could be a whopping $50,000. Or it could be, sorry, try again.
But if you don't have a representing hand in the bag, you don't have a chance.
Grab Bag is brought to you courtesy of
Tiles R Us Limited, Banners Valley, St. Elizabeth. Tiles R Us.
Trying to get home in time to catch the news? Reach home safe. Whether you are a pedestrian, driver, or cyclist, we all must share the road. Remember to look out before you step out.
A message from the Ministry of Energy, Transport and Telecommunications.
All right, we're back with you inside of the Africa Forum. This is Running Africa. And in the final few minutes with my brother Kamau Kamboy, who is a global registered architect with over 36 years of experience in Jamaica, Guyana, the United States. Someone who has played a leading role in shaping some of Jamaica's most significant development projects. And we're looking at, well, we talk about recovery after disasters here in Jamaica. But you can't talk about that without looking at NaRRA. But we're also looking at an article written by Kamau Kamboy, talking about procrastination being the thief of time, looking at procrastination as opposed to or versus bureaucracy, and defining procrastination as unnecessarily delaying or postponing decisions or tasks despite knowing that negative consequences may result. One of the things you spoke about as we were going in, and you've been saying this all morning, Kamau, is that, but now you gave it a name, looking at on the step in and the indemnification provisions. That's what gave you, in NaRRA, that's what gave you cause for concern and pause, if you will. But in some way, you're saying that NaRRA is a necessary apparatus for Jamaica's post-disaster recovery. Are you, or am I?
Yes, there's nothing wrong with an agency that is going to collaborate with existing agencies. What I have an issue with is how NaRRA is structured. It doesn't speak about engaging all of these existing agencies to get work done. It talks about stepping in and controlling the situation, and there's a almost like a distrust of the existing agencies, regulatory agencies. Mm-hmm. That is the impression that I've gotten. Let me just say this, architects and engineers, like medical doctors, there's like a Hippocratic oath. The doctors are not supposed to do any harm. Mm-hmm. Architects and engineers are trained to protect the public health, safety, right? Mm-hmm. Health, safety, and welfare of the public. That is our mandate, right? And that's why you need those technical persons to be involved in the process.
I think you're frozen on the screen, but we're still hearing you. Not quite sure what's causing that freeze, but we're still hearing you.
I'm hearing you, yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. So basically, that is what NaRRA, to me, if you're going to have a NaRRA, it should be an entity that actually pools the resources, the existing resources, the regulatory agencies, mm-hmm. and all of the technical and the scientists to come up with solutions. Going overseas, I mean, there's nothing wrong with learning from others what they have, but to me, I'd rather send the technical persons to see what happens.
Well, you send the military, because everything is connected. You send the military person. I don't think that we can look at NaRRA or anything that's happening right now regarding global security and the initiatives, the security initiatives that are being worked out within the Caribbean waters, especially the Cold War III between China and and Jamaica, everything is connected. Nothing is by coincidence, and that is why we had for a year the person who's the head of NaRRA now was the U.S. ambassador at the time when the Shield of Americas was being configured, and then we had the Minister of Security going into Peru, and then NaRRA right after the Ministry of Security. It is all connected. NaRRA has such sweeping powers that it has to have embedded in it some serious security powers. Am I right? I'm not sure if you're hearing me, Kamau. All right, I think we have.
No, I'm
Oh, yes.
not. You're
All right, we're
breaking.
I'm saying
I
that
can hear you now, but
yeah.
before.
Okay, I was saying that NaRRA has such sweeping powers and authority that it has to have embedded within it the same security powers and authority. This is what I'm thinking. All right, we're having an issue with Kamau online. And we're just in the final few minutes, you know.
I'm hearing you, but not your full sentence.
All right, I'm going to give you.
Choppy.
All right, Kamau, because we have just about 8 or so minutes. I'm just because we're hearing you. I'm going to give you the next 5 minutes or so just to kind of talk through some of what you propose in the article, the proposed approach to national reconstruction, which you've already talked about here, and your major concerns going forward.
Well, there's a straightforward process in the development process. Policy, as you know, comes from the government. Policy comes from the government.
Mm-hmm.
That informs project management, and project management informs design. Design informs cost. So there's an established process to development. So I believe that Jamaica should go back to consulting with its technical professionals to do the assessment and to make recommendations and be involved in the implementation process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you see this happening? I mean, it's a good recommendation, of course, but do you see this happening? What are your colleagues, architects, engineers, scientists, technical people, saying? Are they in agreement, as far as you know, with your thesis, your central thesis, or do they see this differently?
As far as I know, I don't think that is being done. I don't think that is being done, and this is why I'm suggesting that the approach should be to seek consultation with those persons who are involved in that kind of vocation.
Mm-hmm.
They can advise you what best to do and the best approach.
Yeah. I don't know if we've heard the engineer, the architect, the technocrats side of the conversation in a public space like this before, because there's been, the arguments have been legal and political and so on. But what you're giving us here now is a whole other side to consider, which is the side of the people with the knowledge, the technical people, the scientists. How do you make the development state faster without making it less accountable?
Well, as I said, you can get speed, but speed has to be done in a responsible way, and you have all the parties involved. And because speed involves money, it involves expertise. All right. So once you have the management of the money, the expertise is there, and they can actually advise how to do the correct implementation to solve the problem.
So you can break bureaucratic paralysis without the kind of sweeping powers, land ownership, land distribution, land taking away. I mean, I'm thinking that there must be a security component, but you can break bureaucratic paralysis by tapping into the knowledge and the skills that are already available. This is what, just to wrap things up, this is the point you make, generally.
Well, yes, my experience in the civil service is that the politicians who issue policy, right, the ones who succeed are the ones who actually rely on the technocrats to do the correct analysis and to recommend the best implementation. Right? When you don't get that interference, that is when you get the best results. But if you are interfering in the very process of implementation, I heard recently a talk about moving from implementation to execution. Execution is a part of implementation. Implementation is about planning, working out the logistics, and it also involves execution. You cannot pull out execution and think that it can exist and produce. Execution is without thought. It's just doing work without any kind of advanced strategy. So execution is a part of implementation.
So finally, Kamau, you see a danger, right? I hear that you're very cautious, but you see a danger with this speed, and you see a danger with the lack of transparency and lack of accountability and the sweeping powers that NaRRA has as a technocrat. You see a danger.
Well, you hear about corruption taking place in the government. Now, corruption exists, will always exist, but it's how you manage and curtail it. Now, when you take away the checks and balances that keep corruption in check, then what you're doing is you're opening the floodgates. When you talk about speed, you're opening the floodgates for corruption, because people will take advantage of any situation that allows them to get away with it, right? And so instead of, again, it can be regulated, but you must have some common sense to the approach. It can't be just say you're going to put a new agency, right? That's going to just waste money.
It's been done before, and it was done for a reason. In other words, it was done in Germany, Nazi Germany, and it was done for a reason. And for our listeners who want to know more about that, they can look up the GBI. I don't speak German, and I don't intend to speak it here, but it's the short term of it is GBI, and it looks like Jamaica's proposed National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority. And you can go study that. Albert Speer was the man who led that Hitler chose.
And just for the record, though, he was an architect.
He was an architect. He was an architect under Hitler, but at least even Hitler chose an architect.
Well, true.
You know, I mean, even Hitler chose an architect. This is interesting. My brother, come on. I'll invite you back, and I hope we haven't gotten ourselves into any trouble. And that I haven't gotten you into any. I wanted to ask you about...
No. I think our role is to enlighten the people of Jamaica, and those who know better ought to be able to share their opinion.
Yes. Dispassionately. Thank you so much, my brother. I appreciate your time. I'm going to invite you to ask you a bit about Morant Bay and the museum that is being built out there. I think that we need to have a conversation with you about it. So thank you so much, my brother.
All right. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. Kamau Kamboy, you know, a registered architect, 36 years of experience in Jamaica, and looking at NaRRA. This is very interesting. But I want you to go check his article. We didn't ask Kamau. Is Kamau gone? Kamau, you're gone? Hold on there. Where can we find the article? Where can our listeners find the article?
Okay. It was... the article originated out of the idea of a book that I'm writing.
Okay.
Right? And I was subsequently asked there was a call for papers, It's a group based at UTech, but I was asked to submit a summary.
Yes.
So I'm actually waiting for them to. Other than that, it will be in the book when I complete it.
Exactly. We wait for that, and we look forward to having you back many times when the book is out, or even during the process of the book. All right. Thank you so much, Kamau. All right. Once again, you can go look up that GBI. GBI was a special Nazi governmental body headed by Albert Speer. It was created principally to redesign Berlin as a monumental capital of the Third Reich. And Hitler envisaged an enormous transformation of Berlin and even considered renaming it Germania. But the GBI evolved beyond this urban architectural plot that they had, and they looked at it kind of, morphed into major construction projects, air raid shelters, approval of forced labor camps like Cooper's Pen, administration of its own forced labor camps, mobilization of labor for construction, like the denial of access to the beach and so on and so forth. There's a whole lot happening around us all at once, and everything is connected. As I said before, I do not know what NaRRA is. I'm learning a little bit more every day, and I learned a lot today from Kamau, who is a technical person who's looking at this through the lenses of an architect and the engineer, somebody who knows how these things work and has been writing prolifically about this. All right, I want to go back to the phone lines because we have... do we have our next guest online? We have a situation that has developed at the St. Anne's Bay Hospital. We talk about meeting the Millennium Development Goals. We talk about Agenda 2030. We talk about Jamaica being the place to work, live, raise our families, and so on. We talk about getting rid of maternal mortality by 1999. It didn't happen. Then we move it to the Millennium Development Goals. Then we move it to, all kinds of stuff. But the figures continue to rise, and Jamaica has not been able to meet that goal. And it is pretty sad. But what's even sadder is when you come face to face with someone who, within your own parish, within your own area, who dies just after giving birth. And it's a death that could be prevented. I want to go to the phone lines where Kirk Hall, who is the uncle of Kenise Dunn, who died at the St. Anne's Bay Hospital just a few days after giving birth. Kirk, are you there?
Good morning.
Good morning, my brother. How are you doing?
I am still here.
And my deepest condolences to you and to the family. I can't imagine your pain, and you still are making the rounds and talking about this. Why is it important to let the public know what has happened? Why is this important?
It's important, in my opinion, to bring awareness to what is happening at the St. Anne's Bay Hospital.
Tell us what happened to Kenise Punky.
Kenise went in on the 29th of July. Why I am having difficulties even thinking about what transpired. About the 27th, she called me and she said, Uncle Kurt, I'm going to go down to St. Anne's Bay Hospital because I haven't passed a stool in about 2 or 3 days. And she said she doesn't want to go because it's the hospital kill off mommy. So I turned to her and said, Punky, because we call her Punky. I said, Punky, just go down there. This is a simple procedure. They will see what's going on and they will deal with you. So I, to tell her that they're going to give her something to pass her stool and all of that. So I feel confident in the system. I trust the system to turn up for her. Apparently, we keep talking at nights and saying, hey, they haven't done anything to me yet, my stool. And I said, but how? Because you're there for how long? So fast forward now to the 7th or the 8th of August. She called me and she said, Uncle Kirk, they are supposed to take me to Ocho to do an ultrasound. And they're telling me now that the ambulance, they don't have an ambulance driver and they're short of staff. So I said, oh, you mean by? So I said, I'm coming down there either Saturday or Sunday. I went down there this Sunday and I saw her, I spoke with her. She said to me, Uncle Kirk, go to the doctor or the nurse and ask them what's going on with me. I did that. I went to the nurse about the station on the maternity ward and I said, Miss, can I speak to the doctor behind you? She said, give her a few. She came back after about 5 or 10 minutes and said, the doctor says your relative can speak, so let her speak and talk to you.
Oh, goodness.
I said, I don't understand because she also went on to say, I am not the next of kin, so she can't disclose what's going on.
Mm.
So I said, no. So I went first and I tried to call the CEO. When I got him on the phone, he told me he's going out. So I said, okay. So I escalate the situation now and went to the junior minister and I called her and told her what my niece told me. She said, Kirk, nobody cannot tell you that because we are not short of staff of our ambulance at the St. Anne's Bay Hospital. I'll deal with it in the morning. Monday morning, Kenny's called me and said, Uncle Kirk, them a carry me go to Ochi, go and do the ultrasound test. I said, okay, good. I called her back Monday evening and I said, Punky, what's the latest? She said, them not come back to me yet, with the result. I said, okay, just keep me posted in the morning. So we are at now Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning, one of my nephew called me and said, hey, apparently there's a situation going on the ward because I see here where some doctors seems to be busy and I went up there and I didn't saw Punky. And they're asking me if I'm a family member because I need to sign an emergency form for them to do an emergency surgery. I said, surgery for what? He said the doctor said she have ear under her diaphragm. So I said, okay, because they need to release it. I said, okay. I didn't hear from them. 12 o'clock, I called. 1 o'clock, I called. 2 o'clock, I called. I just keep calling till I said, go up there and see what they're doing with Punky. Because this is pretty long for just a minor surgery based on what I am told. Yes. To remove ear from her diaphragm. This is a whole heap of hours. Well, he went up there and he called me and he said, look here, I don't like how Punky look. Wow. on the bed. She looked like she dead. And I said, we are talk about. Shortly after, he said to me, the doctor told him that the family need to come down to the hospital. I turned to him and I said, look here, make sure that I don't kill Punky down there, And I went down there. When I went down there, we met with about 5 to 6 doctors and surgeons, and they told us that they went in. And when they went in her, they booked upon a tumor in her colon, and they had to take out her colon, and they had to take out her large bowel. And I said, Doc, this is a major surgery comparing to what you told us. Yes, this is not a minor. This is a major surgery. And the list goes on. And he said, during the surgery, her heart got hit, her liver got hit.
Oh, goodness.
And her kidney got hit, and her bone marrow suffered a serious hit.
Goodness. I'm so sorry. Listen, oh, goodness.
And I said, Doc, but this is a major thing. But all this time, I was hoping that she would have pulled through. And he also said, when we went in also, we found 2 liters of stool inside of her.
So she didn't pass a stool at all and been there all this while?
From the 29th. Remember I said she went in from the 29th. Yeah? And this is now, we're on the what? With the 11th or 12th of August.
Oh.
Yeah?
Father Abraham.
Remember, she went in and she was 8 months pregnant.
Yes.
And when they beginning to tell us, and they were saying, hey, this is what we went in and we found this and yada 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 yada. The doctor said, one thing I can tell you, the family, she's critically ill, and you guys need to pray because she's really, really in a bad condition.
So Kirk,
yes, ma'am.
we know she's passed. I mean, this is what has the hospital said so far? And once again, condolences. I know it must be really difficult for you to be talking about this over and over, to be reliving this very, very painful period that is still ongoing. What has the hospital said so far to you? I mean, to the family?
The hospital is saying there's an investigation on the way, and they have issued a press release a few days ago in saying that she died from complication from child's birth. No, that is absolutely not correct. She went in not for to have a baby. She went in for a complication. What happened? Why that complication was not remedied from the 29 until why? What happened before she had the baby? So in our opinion, this tool would have been backed up inside of her from the 29.
And this is what they found.
And her bowels got ruptured. Had they done the due diligence and the proper analysis of her, and if they can't manage it, send her off to another health facility who can manage her. And then the part that shocked the nation and the family is how she was treated. She was treated like a dog.
And this is where we pause for a minute to say, just listening to all that happened up to admittance, just listening to what you have to say about what happened in that period. You know, the no ambulance. I mean, all of this is suggesting something really, really serious. And I haven't seen the press release from St. Anne's Bay, so I'll take a look at it. But this is some crazy stuff. So where do you go from here, Kirk? What next? And once again, to the family, I say, my heart, my heart, my heart. I cannot imagine what you're going through. But what's the plans from here? Did we lose Kirk?
From here,
Go ahead.
clearly, we know the option that we can sue, right? Nobody ever tell us that we can sue. What we're advocating for is changes at the St. Anne's Bay Hospital. It can't be business as usual.
And changes
Who is holding these people accountable?
And changes at the
for
Ministry of
treatment
Health.
that they treat Jamaicans.
Changes at the Ministry of Health because maternal mortality across Jamaica
Who is holding them accountable?
Exactly. And we have the Minister of Health running up and down with him the best PR ever. But yet the hospitals remain what they are. The public clinics remain what they are. And our daughters, our mothers, our sisters are dying in childbirth or just after. And we're talking about meeting this goal and meeting that goal. What kind of stupidness is this? So I know you're foregrounded.
A conversation needs to be had.
Yes.
How can a pregnant mother be on the ground in vomit and a healthcare worker passes her and tell her that she's not assigned to her?
That happened?
Absolutely. They had a pregnant ladies had to clean her up out of her vomit while the nurse walked past her and tell her that she's not assigned.
My brother, from all of us at Irie to your family, our deepest condolences. I am so sorry that I'm out of time. We really needed more time to flesh this out. But I needed to get your voice out there to say that an injustice has taken place because Punky's dead. And it don't matter what excuses. She went there 8 months pregnant. unable to pass her stool. And she's dead just a few days after. And these are the facts. These are the facts. So
somebody needs to be held accountable.
Of course.
Somebody needs to be held accountable.
The Minister
Don't
of
tell me
Health.
about go and sue.
Listen to me. I know that people are going to be mad with me saying this, but this has to... Has the Minister of Health said anything? Has there been any intervention from the Minister?
The Minister called me personally and said he's very sorry over what happened and it should have never happened. And he has launched an investigation from the highest authority.
Brilliant.
And he said, look, I am terribly sorry, really, really sorry.
Okay.
This should have never happened.
All right. So
yes,
can't bring her back, but that at least is a place to start. And then the minister has to branch out from there, because you can't keep calling individual family members. There is a systemic structural problem. Structural violence against the people of Jamaica in the health system that has to be dealt with. My brother, I want to hear from you again. Thank you so much. And please stay strong. I know that you have been, it's hard to say to people, stay strong, but our love to you, lots of hugs, and our hearts, love and light to you, my brother, and to the family.
Thank you, Cabo.
All right. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I'm so sorry that this is how we're going to have to go out. Mr. Bigay is in the house. Bigay Hyde. We can't even say anything, because this is just a harsh way to leave.
Yeah, I'll leave.
All right. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Look out for each other. My name is Cabo, on behalf of Peter and Khadijah, making way for the Bigay inside of a Sunday Sunshine. See you next week, inshallah.
Tackling home repairs. Stop running from store to store. H&L Rapid True Value has